Live tonight on American Zombie. I'm your host, Maxed Out. I'd like to say what's up to everyone who's listening. I pinned the link to the top of the chat. Very controversial title there. Can racism drive you crazy? I was going to call it Can Racism Make You Crazy? But I figured I'd be more direct than that. And when I think about it, the the behavior that many people exhibit is showing that it probably can. People are exhibiting more and more attitudes that are would be called prejudice, racism. It's like I said before, when the president criticized the Somalis in Minnesota, instead of saying it's the behavior and that there are a few or some that are abiding by the law, but many are not, he gave a response that would fuel racism. Remember, divide and conquer, man. When you have ignorant people, you're going to have ignorant misleaders. And all I've seen is leaders or misleaders that fuel hatred, division amongst the citizens in the country. This goes for many countries, but definitely in the United States of experiments, without a doubt, over here. I mean, I don't even really know what to call it anymore. It's gotten so crazy from when you look back, at least they tried to give a facade of decency with the so-called first family. And I had mentioned this many years ago. When you call somebody the first family, that alone is just, it's putting people like in a category. It's like, wait a minute, why would you be first? Shouldn't you be helping us? And we start to realize it's basically tyranny disguised as freedom. So with that, the way he said that, it was really messed up. This shooting at Brown University, right? Like, say, what's up, Drew Ma? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, I got the link pinned up top here, man. And racism is a very needed to talk. You know, it's a topic that needs to be talked about, especially in light of what has happened. When you look at the Bondi Beach thing, right, in Australia, the two guys, father and son, you know, just, I mean, innocent people. They're out there with rifles, and it's really messed up. It really is, man. What was it? Two ended, and about another 8 or 9 injured. The university, Brown University, I think in Rhode Island, and the suspect. I noticed a lot of the guys who try to emphasize on black crime in America, they always have an excuse when something like this happens. Now it seems that the shooter is a white male. They haven't really fully released it, but the pictures show it to be something like that. And there'll be, believe me, there'll be an excuse for that. Why it's not as bad as crime from by other people. It's still crime. It's still murder. I mean, of innocent people, no less. I mean, it's really messed up. It's not like self-defense or anything. And then what I put on the thumbnail, one of the pictures was, oh, Drew, good to see you, man. I didn't see you backstage. I have the other screen open where I'm looking at the some like notes that I have. Yeah, it should give me like a notification when somebody comes on backstage. It's supposed to give like a little beep. I guess I didn't trying to see if my volume is up. Anytime you want to jump in, you know. Yeah, so when I put the picture of a guy, let me see if I can pull it up. In of course we have Umar on the right, who just blatantly tries to spark division, telling people, oh, you can't even be with somebody different. The guy on the left just got fully destroyed on social media. He was going around calling people the N-word, telling them they're chimping out and stuff. Nick Fuentes, a firm proponent of racism, openly. And below him is Jerry Motley. And that guy, I think, was driven insane by racism. I mean, he actually, if you look it up, Jerry Motley, there's uh, a video on YouTube. There's a few, people that commented on the situation where he was being antagonized at his place of employment. He was the only black man there, and they would bully him. They would make jokes about his ethnicity, and they would make jokes that were borderline threats about which branch on a tree that he might end up on. And he, I think, was driven to the point of madness, to where he came in one day and offed the boss, and the main antagonist that the boss never took issue with. I think he's in condition in the hospital, and then they got the firearm away from him. He got out of there, and then eventually he got taken into custody. He had crashed in to the back of a truck, and they eventually apprehended him. And they have the interrogation where he was showing how he's like, look, he couldn't take it anymore. It went on for a long time, and it seems that when you look at the interviews with even the guy that was considered to be his friend, which seemed to have sparked this. Hopefully they'll notice that. But again, he was the only black guy at the job, and it looks like they ain't gonna probably be saying nothing to nobody else. They don't want to solve this problem. This is the divide and conquer tactic. People can come out and talk about it, and you can see instances like this. Nick Fuentes, they want guys like that to fuel the hatred and division between people. It's sad. It's really sad, man, when I think about it. It just Sons of God, man, good to see you. Says this shooting happens right alongside the Bondi massacre in Australia. Coincidence? Oh, definitely not, man. Definitely not. Mr. Rex, always good to see you, brother. Let's go. Yes, man. This is a topic that it's touchy, but people need to talk about it. People need to learn, like, look, man, we're all related, whether we like it or not. It could be called a one big dysfunctional human family. This is why I'm working so hard. I've made a commitment to stream every night. I might even stream like a little later, like 11 to 12 or 11 to 1, just to make sure I get it in, because I'm editing the book that will hopefully show people that we, come from a common source is probably the right word, and not from apes, not from chimps, not from a blatant lie. If it was scientific, that would be one thing. I would have to address it and do research in that direction. But as I do research, I start to see that this was all created to spark that racist ideology. A guy in Australia, I think he might be of Aborigine descent, he said that he's the one who said race is not the father of racism, it is the child. So you had these prejudice racist tendencies before Darwin, but then they used him, it seems, to be like the scapegoat or the face of the model, again, the Pope of the religion of evolution, what I call it. And if anybody has read The Origin of Species and seen the title, maybe they would start to get the idea. I have showed it many times. The origin of species by means of natural selection. That's what they like to say, but they don't say the other part of the title, or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. And that's the thing where I'm like, when you look at that, or the preservation of favored races, that's the two key words. So right there, he's bringing in an entirely, this is so divisive. The division that it creates, it's just horrible. And this is conveniently enough at the time, close to the Emancipation of Proclamation during the Civil War when this was published, I think around 1859. So people are finally saying, look, we're going to legally abolish the slave trade and slavery in America. But then this comes out, and they start saying that certain people are closer to apes, therefore they're not as human as others. I mean, this is like, if anybody, I notice people that support the theory of evolution have never read it, much like many religious people. When I start to talk about things in their religious books, magically they don't know, but yet they base their entire life on it. I mean, if that isn't the height of ignorance, what is? And like the old saying says, ignorance has no prejudice. It'll grab you no matter who you are. Doesn't matter what color, what creed, what gender. Ignorance has no prejudice. That's something that should be taught in schools, to let people know, look, don't let it grab you. And there is a difference between prejudice and racism. You know, racism, prejudice, it basically is using that. People can, prejudging is underrated in a way, because I'm not going to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. You're going to prejudge them on certain matters just to stay safe. If somebody asks you for a ride and you don't know, no, you don't know if this person's a serial ender or something like that. So no, you're prejudging them. So it's people should think about that. But again, like I say, on American Zombie, most people don't think. If you think, the zombies want to eat the thoughts right out of your head. And the epidemic of racism in the world is a problem that needs to be addressed. And it seems like the people in political positions of power are fueling it. We see what's happening in the UK. We see what's happening in France and Sweden. In Sweden, what they do, they took in refugees and the grape statistics skyrocketed. You know, go figure, right? But if you know, and I can't even believe on what's happening in the UK. They're, I think, arresting people for Facebook posts, and but yet you got guys that are doing essays and getting out the next day. And of course, this is in my opinion, to stay within the guidelines so I can keep continuing bringing knowledge, the news of what's happening, and a way that we can analyze things so we can think about it and get to a better solution. And better than a solution is removing the cause of the problem, which can also be done by thinking, to say, well, if I don't engage in certain things, I don't give it any power. I don't fuel it. If you don't fuel it, well, then eventually it's going to slowly dissipate, and it's not going to be able to work efficiently because you're not giving it fuel. To detect these things, it takes psychology. I think Drew jumped off. Mr. X, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, MD. Yeah, interesting topic, a touchy topic, that's for sure. But I'm glad you had the, the wherewithal to bring it up. Because I guess it should be brought up in a certain perspective.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's touchy. Yeah, a lot of people, they don't want to talk about it. Outcast Metal Child, what's up? MD putting out stream after stream. Love it, man. Thank you, man. Always a pleasure seeing you in the chat, bro. Yeah, this is and it's not directly, I'm not doing this directly in any type of singling anybody out. I mean, the guy that, as Varun asked me, and when Blaxican came on, asked me, how did I meet Brave? And it was because of that other guy that was on our stream a while back. And it's hopefully to educate some of them, to say, look, I mean, Nick Fuentes, these guys, when he was approached and asked if he was a white racist, he quickly turned into, oh, he's Mexican, because Fuentes is Spanish Latin last name. I think Fuentes in Spanish means flowers, I think. So a lot of these guys, I think, I forgot the guy's channel. You have a lot of guys that would push racist ideologies, and they're not even of any type of what they would call, if there is a thing, pure descent of something. Um, they end up being, some of them, like Nick, ends up being from Latin cultures and stuff like that. So it makes you wonder, is it the grift? What exactly, where does this come from? You look at Myron Gaines, I mean, just extreme self-hatred uh, toward people of color and towards women. And usually we already see that that comes from guys that women don't like. So they tend to turn vindictive and hateful and use that to cope, which, again, I've said it before, you can't fix yourself by breaking somebody else. Sons of God says Nick Fluentes, more like, yeah, the shill, like the rest of, yeah, they are full blown shilling. And this topic, I know it would be tough. A lot of people might
Mhm.
not want to hear it. But what has happened with the Brown University tragedy, the Jerry Motley, the guy in the middle bottom part of the thumbnail, which is really sad. I mean, he talks about how it basically, he couldn't take it anymore. He said he would walk into the office and everybody was telling black jokes,
Mhm.
and that he didn't find it funny. And they would say some very offenseful things until one day he came in there with a pistol and he went straight Manson, similar to the way that some white kids will go into a school. And we should look at this, like, especially with the Columbine. What drove the Columbine massacre
Mhm.
is, when you look into it, one of the kids had a shirt on that said natural selection. And I think one of the other ones, he had a social media thing where he called himself Natural Selector, uh, and I forgot, 89 or something like that. I think he had a number after it. So
Mhm.
again, dealing with like what I had put up with the Darwin thing of the uh, the natural selection on the origin of species by means of natural selection. Mark, good to see you, brother. Always, man. And this natural selection thing, which we already know is not scientific, because adaptation, which hopefully or realistically people will start to realize is the real way to classify the changes in these things, not the word evolution. Again, evolution is a really, really sneaky wordplay that they try to slip into everything. Oh, that's just evolution, the magic, the fairy wand. Evolution did it. How did the spider learn how to spin its web? Oh, evolution, bling, evolution did it. No, that's not science. That's a fairy tale. So when we see adaptation, somebody tanning in the sun, or even somebody getting skin burn, that's a response. That's a direct response to environment. That is not random. That is not random. So there is no random selection. That's the lie. To say, that's the lie that pushes the preservation of favored races. See, people should put that is part of the title in Darwin's book. That is part of the title. I put it up here. Anybody can find it online. It's right here. You open the book up, On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the preservation of favored races. And the favored races in what? In the struggle for life. So, oh my goodness, we got to hurry up and struggle. And what do most of the so-called nationalists in America do? Oh, it's a struggle, man. Be careful, man. They're getting bred out, this and that, you know. Oh my goodness. It's always a call to arms, a siren. And then you have a group of black people in America that are straight. It's like Steven from Django, the character Steven from Django, in the house. And we already know the names that they would define these people as, serving the racist agenda. And like I said before, the house, what they would call the house slave, or for another word, they would call it. They would that person, the house slave, is worse than the plantation owner. It's worse than the slaver himself, because the slaver might decide not to enslave people anymore. Might say, you know what, they made enough off the plantation. May realize their mistake, but not the house slave. The house slave is, hey, massa, we got to keep this going. We got to keep this going. And that type of speech is translated today when we say, oh, we went to war, we're doing this. What do you mean? We went to the moon? We didn't, you didn't go, I didn't go. They're saying that these other guys went, but that has nothing to do with us. So again, language is very tricky, man. Language is extremely tricky. We have to be very careful with this. Kasparov, good to see. He says they're all feds, all of them, from all sides. That's very plausible, without a doubt. Very plausible. But yeah, man, Mr. X, if you have anything to add in, please do. Or, I'll continue if you want.
Throughout history, a lot of what's come out, especially in the early part of this country's beginning, a lot of it starts at the top, the elites. They have an agenda and they're going to implement something, and the zombies are just going to follow along. That's what I see. They're just like, the zombies are just followers. Whatever is given to them, they just kind of accept it as reality. But it all starts at the top, usually, whatever agenda they have for society. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah, definitely trickles. Yeah, that's like they disseminate it. That is, I mean, when I see and a good example to back up what you're saying is what we see, that the so-called commander in chief, the president, the way he responds to certain things. I think just the callous response that he gives, like this thing that recently happened with the
director.
Yeah, the director,
Rob.
from All in the Family, right? He was an actor on there.
He was an actor. Yeah, he was Michael Stivic.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, some people say it seems like it could have been a ritual. The fact that his son did it, I guess I'm like, whoa, I didn't look at the full story, but I'm like, holy smoke.
Mm-hmm.
That was Meathead in All in the Family, Mike Stivic. Yeah. And I think his name is Rob Reiner.
Rob Reiner.
Yeah, and it's so sad that him and his wife, the father and the mother. So it makes you wonder. And these racists, these nationalists, so to say, they don't have nothing to say about that. That's not in the crime statistics. Now, I'm not saying anything that the black crime rate and stuff, I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to dismiss that. It's horrible. It's horrible on all ends. But the fact that they don't look, I mean, this is some real creepy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, what he did to his parents, and they found the bodies, and something similar, I think they were saying with Gene Hackman, like his wife would administer medicine to him, and I think somehow she passed, and then he was left without the medicine, and he eventually passed. But who knows if there was foul play? I mean, with Hollywood, you never know.
No, you never know.
You never know. You never know if it's some type of ritual type of thing. I mean, they're openly doing rituals that you see, and you say, wait a minute, I mean, this is just, it's brutal in the open when you look at some of the stuff. It's meant to control the masses. Mm-hmm. The way people look, what do they got? Like Avatar 3 or 4 or something that's coming out in a few days or tomorrow or something. And they're like, oh, who wants to even watch something like that anymore?
I know. I saw the first one. I wasn't that impressed. Everybody, it was mostly hype, I think people fall for the hype. That's what it is. They know how to create the hype, and the people just fall for it. The movie could be a piece of crap. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And they'll say, "Oh, we liked it," even though maybe they didn't like it. It's the hype.
Yeah, the zombie. Kasparov says, "Watch the Al Franken roast on Rob Reiner that just came out." Whoa, Al Franken basically exposes Rob as a victim of satanic ritual abuse. No lie. Oh, I gotta watch that, man.
Oh, that'd
Thank
be
you.
interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that, Kasparov. Metal Child says, in my opinion, the psychotropic drug Prozac had a lot to do with Columbine. I've heard that too, man. Yeah, yeah, I've heard that if well, it says it in the side effects, I think, in my opinion, that it can cause certain sue type of tendencies if it's stopped. And you know something, people, I think there's some lawsuits that happened. Like there was a thing saying, oh, if you know anybody that's been affected by Prozac, please contact this number. You know, that they're, I would think that's the pharmaceutical industry themselves trying to say, okay, if anybody has side effects on this, contact us. And they're acting like they're a lawyer, but meanwhile, it's the pharmaceutical industry just trying to give a payout to say, all
Mhm.
right, look, this is what we'll give you, or we'll try to make it look that something's wrong with you and that you don't have a case to even file a lawsuit against them. Um, a guy knew his sister was on that many, many years ago. This was 15 years ago or something. And it didn't seem to make it better. Yeah, it's but yeah,
I think
man,
people
it's
it's mental illness is very underestimated. I mean, I know I had family members who suffered from that,
mhm,
and it's out there. It's real. It's a real disease, and
mhm.
if it goes untreated, these things can happen.
Yeah, yeah, that things can and I've heard that it had something to do with that there were definitely theories quoted from an article I found, as Dr. Bregan points out in his earlier books, talking back to Prozac. Wow, these drugs rob people of their humanity. They lose their capacity for empathy. Holy, holy smokes! Yeah, man, that's kind of deep. Yep, Kasparov says, indeed, Mr. X.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, man. If it's gone untreated, you're right.
Yeah,
It can lead to it can lead to what we saw.
yeah.
It can.
And there's very different levels of it. There's people who are so
Yeah.
schizophrenic they can't even function.
Hmm.
But there's other people who are sort of in between or haven't reached it completely, and they
Yeah.
can still function, but they'll have their episodes. And
Hmm.
they get weapons and forget it. They're going to do
Oh
something.
yeah. Well, all it takes is one episode. Yeah.
Mm.
All it takes is one, and they don't speak on this. They don't. It's they'll be quick to put racism on that. Oh, it's racist stuff. It's like, well, what sparked that? What the fact that they had the natural selection T-shirt on. I
Mhm.
mean, for some reason, they're not going to bring up. Well, it kind of says that in the title of the origin of species, by means of natural selection, but they don't like to say the other part of that.
Mhm.
With the favored races, the preservation of the favored races in the struggle for life. That right there is like a call to arms. And
Mhm.
then, if anyone wants to go further and read the Descent of Man, which was written by Charles Darwin, he basically lays the format out to say that in a time less than 100 years, it's like he's putting a manifesto. That's like Charles Darwin's uh, manifesto of hate that Hitler and other monsters used to carry out their atrocities. To
Yeah.
say that in a time less than a century. So he's like, hey guys, you got to hurry up and get this, moving, that there will not be any of the races in between, like anything of people of color, a gorilla, a ape, a monkey. It will go as far from what they would consider to be the human, the
Mhm.
top, all the way, nothing in between, to a baboon. So they want to just, I mean, it's so horrible when people look at that. But magically, I don't hear evolutionists talking about it.
But
And these are
wouldn't
evolutionists.
surprise me? I was just
Mhm,
going to say that the people who promote evolution, even going back to Darwin himself, that
mhm,
none of them really actually believe in this theory.
mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's just something they push on the masses. to dumb the masses down. It's controlled by people at the top. People at the top think they know it's stupid. They know it's not scientific. They don't agree with it in any way, shape, or form. But they just give it to the masses to say, yeah, you're just an highly evolved monkey.
Hmm. Yeah,
I really
exactly.
believe that.
Exactly. And it causes some type of problem in the
It
mind.
does.
It really does. I mean, it really, uh, Metal Child says, while zombie-like emotional numbness may initially be felt to be an improvement by someone with extreme depression, it can hardly be considered healthy or even desirable. Exactly. Yeah, man. The zombie-like emotional numbness is just, and it's everywhere, man. Kasparov says Columbine kids were probably military industrial complex MK Ultra experiments. Many students had parents and family that work for those corporations. Wow. Lockheed Martin is headquartered in Littleton. Holy smokes. Wow, that's something I got to look into that. And, this is just in our opinion. This show
Hmm.
is about entertainment and education, just to say as a disclaimer. But yeah, so I got to look in Littleton, man. There was, and with the subject of the stream about racism, there was one black kid, I think, that was ended in Columbine, and the other students, white students, this girl said that they shot him just because he was black. So she openly said that on camera, and the guy, the father of that son who was ended, the black father of the black son, came on free speech radio. I think it was on in New York City. They broadcast on 99.5 FM. I think that's where I heard it. He said that he had moved. I think he had a family of five, and that child might have been one of five. He had daughters. And he said that when everybody in the town was going to file their lawsuit to get, I guess, some type of settlement for what had happened to their child in that incident. When he went, the other parents, all of the white parents, ganged up on him as if he shouldn't be able to file that suit and attacked him. And he came on the radio saying he just wanted to say that Colorado is not safe for black people. He was so, and this is where I say, can racism drive you crazy? What they did to that man was horrible after his son was ended by these two monsters wearing the natural selection type stuff. So all of the other families who lost their kids was basically white. But in that morning, magically their mourning went away. That didn't matter as much as it mattered on hating on this black man. And a lot of people don't point that out. A lot of people don't know about that. And worse, a lot of people don't care about it, especially a lot of these other streams. When, like the guy that came on here, it was really sad to see someone that's in their 70s at that level of ignorance, to think that, I mean, I've heard some of the stuff he said on his stream. And again, it's nothing against him personally. It's his behavior. It's atrocious. It's embarrassing.
Who's this guy again? This is the Be Brave guy.
Yeah, yeah. He
Well,
came
he
on
was
here.
on here just constantly talking the other few streams ago, right?
Yeah, he streams. Yeah. I took the stream down. I
Hmm.
got rid of it, the one that we did on here, because I didn't even want to feed into that. And there's a few that I'll make private, because on that one he cursed a little bit. I'm trying to get rid of all the streams that there's
Hmm.
cursing, just to make it more clean. Unless it's a really good stream, I'll leave it up. But some of the other ones, it's just a lot of nonsense. And then if I do decide to change it to Wisdom Radio, I would like a better title. But if I have to, if anybody types in Wisdom Radio with a Z, American Zombie comes up. So, because that was the original one. But he streams a lot, and
Hmm.
he is with some of the black guys that constantly, they're like far right wing. So to them, of course, they're like the Myron Gaines type of guy, the full blown sellout.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that was the guy. I guess he took that avenue because they're making money off of it. when Blaxican came on and said that, he's making over 2 grand a week. You see,
Really?
yeah, yeah. I was surprised he was making that much, but even that guy Be Brave talked about it and stuff. That's probably why he's kind of riding his
Oh, I
coattails.
thought you said Be Brave was making 2 grand a
Oh
week.
yeah, no, no, no. He's I think he's just barely hitting 500 subs. I don't know if
Okay,
I
well,
mean, some of the guys that go on his panel are just, I'm talking, it's like very low IQ,
mhm,
um it's closet racist type of behavior. Some of them are openly racist. I see some of the background pictures and stuff, and I'm like, this ain't good. Yeah, it ain't good. And they'll be, some of them will be hating on the guy CT, but the guy Brave, he's kind of secretly love affair with him because they used to be close. And I think the guy plays his clip and he's constantly like, hey, and again, it's nothing against the guy. It's just saying the behavior. It's like
mhm,
younger teens looking at this behavior have horrible examples of adults. Unless other adults like us will not just be, because we can't call it out in a mean, vindictive way, because that wouldn't be teaching the youth in the right way.
mhm,
Like the way we're doing now, calm, controlled, collected conversations to say, hey, that's not what you want to be like. And this is the reason why. Because if we just say that's not what you want to be like, then the kids aren't going to understand. The teenagers, the guys in their 20s, which surprisingly enough seem to have a lot of common sense. They're
mhm,
looking for adults to say, "Hey, man, is it them or is it just crazy? Like what's going on?" It just yeah. Timbo, good to see you, brother. He says, been listening to truckers talk lately. One guy mentioned a sundown town in Wyoming. His truck broke down and he had to get a motel later that night. About 2 dozen armed dudes came knocking on his door. Holy smoke.
mhm.
Heard about those sundown towns, man. Browns boy, good to see you, man. Wow. Yeah, it's anybody of color. I wonder what I don't know if if you can tell us in the chat what happened to him. Like what was the confrontation? Like did it end peacefully? Did he had to go stay in his truck? Um that is really messed up. I heard about those years ago too. They say like you don't want to be caught in those towns after sundown. And
Mhm.
if that isn't an uncivilized, trying to think of the right word for it, uh, just ignoramus. I mean, to think about that, it's like, wait a minute. So if somebody needs a place and the motel, and it's probably the motel owner that called on them. I mean, who knows?
Mhm.
It's just it's so uncivilized. I mean, it's brutal to say, wait a minute, this guy, I mean, the fact that that exists still shows us a problem. But these guys will make streams about, oh, how this is a Christian built country or something like that. And it's like, what, on those type of values? We know what they're trying to say.
Mhm.
People ain't that stupid. Zombies, people are zombified, but you can see through it. And yeah, those sundown towns, that's some really sad stuff, man. That's a, it says more about the people that don't say stuff about that. It really does, man. It just Timbo says, seems like they wanted to intimidate him so he could spread the word, but he did say he wondered if it was his last day living. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow, man. Kasparov says Northern California has sundown towns too. Yep, I heard about that, man. That there was a guy in actually Northern California, this guy that talked about that. And it's sad. I can understand people saying they don't want crime coming to their town or this and that. But when you see stuff like that, you say, look, man, this guy is just here because I remember I went to Maine, and I mean, it's a Maine is by per capita the whitest state in America, so it's 99%. I don't think it's changed. And there was a guy that was in the army with me that was from Maine, and I remember he used to say things that were that were really messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I actually went to Maine to see a girl, this blonde chick that I dated for a little bit. And the guy that owned the it wasn't a motel, but it was actually like a really nice little piece of land where it had these little cottages.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I went there, I spoke with them, and I think she had the guy feel me out, and then magically she popped up. And I didn't realize, where I was. It was Lowell, Maine, right over the border of New Hampshire, about a
Mm-hmm.
about a 7-hour drive. Really nice girl. I mean, she's 5'11", I'm 6'1", so I put pieces together later on, like, wow, she probably couldn't find a guy taller than her.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, the guy was really cool. I think he was from an English background, because his accent, or Scottish, I think. And he used to drive around the whole entire North America delivering airplane parts. So he was extremely knowledgeable on the routes and the roads. And we were talking about like how when he drove to Alaska and stuff like that. And I guess he saw that I wasn't coming there like some type of thug or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she popped up, and then he gave me, like, he didn't have a single room cottage, so he ended up giving me a cottage with like 3 rooms. I was like, holy smoke. It was a really nice place for, like, I think it was like $90 or something. This was about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And yeah, and then in the daytime, when I left, like 2 days later, I was driving, and I stopped at a lake, and I was looking at the lake, and I remember she told me, she goes, look, don't go in any of the lakes because the ducks, it has physteria, so
Mm-hmm.
you have to be very careful. So I was like, okay, don't put your hands in it because physteria, the bacteria and stuff from the duck excrement.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm standing, I'm looking, I'm in the woods looking out over the lake. And I was like, wow, this is really nice. And they got a whole bunch of these little lakes all over the place. And they look little on a map, but they're actually very big when you go there. And you're like, holy smokes, I don't want to be swimming in something like this. The current. And when I came out of the woods and got in the car and started driving, bang, next thing I knew, straight state trooper was driving behind me. And this guy was clearly following me, to the point where I had to pull over in like uh this little store, like this three thing store. I guess it was like a gift shop thing. And he saw that, I bought something there just to get him off of me. I was just like, man, this guy's like, I don't know what's up with this. And I guess when he saw that I bought like a souvenir that I gave to a friend when I got back to New York, he just did something else, and I just continued to drive until I got out of the state, which was only maybe 30 minutes to an hour, because Lowell was like right over the border, so it wasn't far before I was in New Hampshire coming back. And yeah, it is, those towns can be a little it can be a little creepy, man.
But
Yeah.
can we play devil's advocate just to keep the stream honest? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like, let me give you an example. I've been to Puerto Rico plenty of times in my
Hmm.
life. And of course, now I'm working on my Spanish. So, but before I knew bits and pieces. But one thing, when I ever went there, and it's mostly Latinos and so forth like that, I never talked down to people. I never acted disrespectfully, So I was treated fine. And I have seen other groups come to Puerto Rico. Now, mind you, Puerto Rico is very mixed, obviously.
Yeah,
It's Puerto
very.
Rico. Most people have a mix of European and African descent. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
not anybody can really, go there thinking there's, a
Yeah.
sundown or this and that. But one
Yeah.
thing that is very important in Puerto Rico is respect.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
when certain people present themselves very disrespectfully, loud, obnoxious, just, think they can talk anyway to anybody, yeah, you're going to get negative results. Now, if you want to blame that on racism, fine, but no, it's you're acting disrespectfully, and I think we see a lot more of that going on in certain situations that can lead to things blowing up, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll attest to that. There's Puerto Ricans that have been ended in Puerto Rico because of that loud behavior. one of them being the famous Puerto Rico champion Hector Camacho.
That's right. Yeah, got shot.
Um, my other friend too, his brother got hit by a car there, and they're Puerto Rican, and they were born here. Another instance was somebody told me this guy went there and he was beaten to death, and the guy, probably, we've seen the way he acted in America, so you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And then to add on to that, when I held my composure, just the way I was when I was speaking in Maine, everything was cool. Everything was cool. I mean, I look at it as the state trooper. Okay, maybe he profiled me a little suspicious, whatever. But I'm okay. Hey, I'm cool with it. Hey, you don't know. Somebody could have came into town and did something, and that's why he followed. Everything was legal. So if he ran my plates, my license, I got my veterans thing on my ID. So thank goodness it just everything was cool. Metal Child says, MD, that article did mention something about addiction and discontinuation syndrome. Yes, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Alexis, brother, thank you for the support, bro. He says, who the hell is this Nick Fuentes guy? A puppet? Yes, bro. Definitely Pup City. That guy is so puppet, man. And that's why I put his picture on the thing. You could see the way he looks. I mean, just he is so puppet, man. I wonder who's behind that. I really wonder who's behind that. With the stuff that he has said is just, it's like a script. It's like he's fueling the racism. It's kind of like Mr. X and I are saying, if you compose yourself in a certain way and you're respectful, those whole racial stereotype tropes, they go away in a way. You'll have instances like the some downtown and stuff, they exist. But if you hold yourself, if they see, they can tell. And Puerto Rico is a great example of it. I noticed that when I was in DR, because Dominican Republic, I would think it's a little more friendly, because I heard guys told me, they said, look, if you go to Puerto Rico, man, guys have been ended by looking at other guys' girls. Like it can get hot climate real quick.
Well, you got to know your area. You got to know your area.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's a lot of people who've gotten ended in the area called La Perla. It's an area, slum town. Now it's been much nicer, renovated, and it's kind of a tourist attraction. But in the past, especially in the 80s and 90s, you didn't mess around there. That's where the drug trafficking was going on. But guys will come down and they'll be around Old San Juan or close to La Perla and argue with people or just being loud. And man, it's like being loud in some of the worst areas of New York. It's like basically go into your worst areas at night and start talking loudly and making an ass of yourself.
Yeah.
It's no different there. But it depends on the location that you're at.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, and you spoke fluent Spanish when you went there, right?
Well, broken Spanish at that point. I've had these last few years. I've been working on getting it.
Okay.
Be
But at
fluent.
least, it says a lot when you at least can speak some of the language. It shows that you're trying.
Yeah.
I noticed that when I was in Holland, if they hear you even try to speak Dutch and you're not fluent, they just immediately start talking English. And I was like, holy smokes, these guys speak English just like us. And they're like, oh yeah, we take it when we're in third grade. We get classes, and then they would start teaching me a little Dutch, and they're just like, yeah, you got to work on this and that. They have more ooh and ears, like Harlem is a Dutch word, Brooklyn, like Brooklyn. And because they would tell me, oh yeah, that was Dutch, we sold it to the English. And I'm like, yeah, I was born there, and yeah, it was real.
I was just gonna say, I'm not too familiar with the Dutch language. But one thing I have heard, like learning Spanish, which is considered the Romance languages, once you get that structure down, especially in Spanish, learning another language like French is much easier. Much easier. It follows the same structure.
You're absolutely right. And I think learning Spanish first, because French I always had a problem with. I dated a chick in Montreal. I was driving all over the place when I was dating on the computer in like '05. I mean, they would invite me, and I had a great time. I drove to Montreal, and French was always a little tough because I think they say it like Montreal, so there's no T really. And she spoke fluent English like us. Really beautiful girl, like the cosmopolitan model, very skinny but very pretty. And
But the key is the structure. That's the key. A lot of
yeah.
people that they get frustrated trying to learn a language because coming from English, because like
Mhm.
for instance, in we would say like the White House, but in Spanish it's the Casa Blanca. You
Yeah.
reverse the noun and the adjective.
Yeah.
And also stuff like to go. We say two words, to and go, but it's one word in Spanish. It's ir. So,
Yeah.
like to stay, kedar, to stay. But we have two words, they have one. So, once you can master the structure of the Romance languages, you'd be surprised. If you get down Spanish, French will start coming real easy, really easy.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I definitely, because they told me that with English in Holland, the guy said, he goes in a cafe, he goes, don't learn Dutch directly. He goes, it's going to be too hard. He goes, learn German, and then you'll easily pick up Dutch. He
Ah,
goes,
yeah.
but it's going to be very hard. And then my friend Juan Carlos, he spoke a few languages, and he would teach me. He would say, look, I go, what's the easiest language for me to learn if I'm lazy? And and he goes, German. He goes,
Mm,
like house in German is Haus. So you're going to see it and you're going to be able to pronounce it. And then we would go through, like, because his mother was Italian, his father was Spanish. He knew a little bit of French, Portuguese, and I would ask him. I would say, okay, so naranja is orange. I
right.
think in Portuguese it's laranja. In Italian it's arancia. So
Mm,
similarities, like I think rojo is red in Spanish, and then rosso is red in Italian, and in Portuguese it's vermelho, kind of like vermilion, which is a red color in English. But in Portugal, it's I think uh, I think it's a little, yeah. In Brazil, it's like a vecchi, like a different, like a harsher thing. So what was it again? Vermelho, I think, and then Vermelho for Portugal, and then German is rood. So red is rood,
mm,
and Dutch too. Dutch is like very little, like rod or road, and then I had Russian friends. They would say it's krasny, like a crimson. So that's for red. I was learning like so many different things from many different people at this flea market. It was like the United Nations, where I was learning. One lady was Chinese, and I'd say, "Well, how you say red in Chinese?" And she's like, "Jingse." And I think gold was Chinkse. And then she was telling me and showing, and I was like, "This is great." It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
mm.
Alexis says the Australia unaliving event and the National Guard unaliving seems like FF. Yes, really does, man. YouTube flags the word. Yeah, yep, you're absolutely, man, to target the Muz. Yet, who is the ones letting them? Exactly. Alexis, this is exactly, thank you, man. What I've been trying to tell people is it's easy to focus on it. We're not trying to say that what is being done is right. It is wrong, but who is allowing it to happen? Who is bringing them in? Who are making the laws that allows this to happen? Thank you. Exactly, bro. Let me go back up here. Timbo, I think he had something. He said, MD, that guy with the funny facial hair who walked around with a piece, that's getting to be a regular occurrence. Just saw an Asian man in Arizona telling these black dudes it was a no N words. Holy smokes. I didn't know that. Wow. When the cops came to arrest him for violating the guy's constitutional rights by telling him he can't be there, they found that he had a piece on him. They're trolling in real life. They're trying to go to, yeah, man. Holy, in Arizona, I stopped in Phoenix once, but I didn't go outside of the airport on my way to California. But wow, I didn't know that, man. Kasparov said, I've experienced more racism in my family's home country somewhere in Latin America. They don't like Indios down there. Caste system is still alive. Wow.
Mm.
Wow, man. That is, oh, man. Responsive Curve, good to see you, man. He said the New York City flag is inspired by the Dutch. Wow. Yeah, it has those two, the New York seal. Yeah. Wow, makes sense since it was once New Amsterdam. Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
true.
they
True.
were they really, when I was there, they made sure they let me know. But they were so cool with me because they would tell me, they said, you're not the average American. and they're like, you're not coming over here trying to say, I was happy to be in Amsterdam. I was like, man, I want to visit the cafe shops. I walked through red light. I got to know chicks in the red light district. They would come out the windows. We'd go have tea in the cafe. And I
Hmm.
realized that, maybe it was because they liked me. Some girls, didn't, and then, they have the blue lights. You got to stay away from those because, I
Blue
mean, you,
lights.
yeah, you think it was a woman. And then it's, the other girl told me, she goes, no. And I'm like, no way. I was like,
Oh, that's a guy.
yeah. And she goes, yeah, you kind of look like she goes, you have a serious look to you. She goes, you're not saying you're angry. She goes, but you just look like you're not playing around. Or she goes, maybe they know that if they try to play that on you, you might just go Manson. And I
Oh,
was
I
like,
didn't
yeah,
know that. I had no clue. Blue light.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I was noticing, I saw this one Latin, and she looked like a pretty woman,
Yeah.
and she's in the window, or he, whatever, and I noticed she's not looking at me. And then two Spanish guys come up, and she's all up on the window with her breasts, and I'm like, wait, what is she? What am I, invisible? And then when I talked to one of the girls I knew that works in the district, I go, yeah, I was over there on that side of the canal. She goes, no, no, no. She goes, when you see that, she goes, those aren't, she goes, that's why it's called the red light district. She goes, these, and I was like, oh, and she goes, yeah, she goes, you just look like, she goes, she goes, you look like a guy that they wouldn't do that to, because she sees that probably you talk to us, or he, whatever it was. I mean, it would have fooled. Like one time we sat down on the bench and we were picking them out. This girl that was Miss Fitness, she had worked in the red light for a few years. This blonde chick, and we were sitting on the bench, and I saw her walking to go, and I was like, hey, what's up? And she sat down, and she goes, yeah, she goes, don't sleep with any Asians. And I said, why? She goes, because some of them have the operation. And she goes, you won't know.
Ooh,
And I'm like,
really?
what? And she goes, yeah. She goes, usually the slit is very small, like, a couple of inches in. And she goes, but if you don't know, she goes, it's hard to tell. So she was pointing them out, and I was like, her? And she goes, yeah. She goes, you can't tell. And I was like, holy, I was like, I was like, thank you for letting me know. And it came from me treating them like human beings. When I
Yes.
was there, I didn't have no judgmental, like, oh, you work in a, I was like, hey, what's up? How you doing? I was like, yeah, no, I got, and they're like, oh, you're from New York? And I think being from New York, people were treating me like a celebrity. The guys from Belgium, it'd be like 3 in the morning. I'm eating like French fries, standing in, on the main strip. And they'd be like, I'd be like, hey, how you doing? And waiting on my order. And they're like, oh, you're from New York? As soon as I talked, they would know. And they're like, oh, we just came in from Antwerp, Belgium. And they're like, man, we want to go to New York City. I was like, man, I said, shoot, I'm leaving New York City to come here. Amsterdam is the place.
Yeah, exactly.
It
But
got to where we were taking pictures together. I
mhm.
mean, it was just amazing the way they treated me.
But you
And like
treated
you said,
everybody with respect. That was the
yeah,
key.
yeah.
That's the
I was just about to bring that up about what you said. The respect went so far. It was so good because I was respectful to people, and they were so nice to me. Oh, Jamal's in the back. I was on the other window, man. Alexis said Fuentes is claiming he's a 27-year-old V card holder and believes, wow, in the BP, obvious a plant. Yeah, clearly a plant. I didn't know he was 27-year-old V card. What?
Yeah, he's
That's,
got plant written all over him.
yeah.
Honestly, I just feel that way.
Yeah. Super plant, man. Holy smoke. Jamal, what's up, man? Good to see
Hey,
you.
Jamal.
Hey, what's up, guys? Good evening, man. Glad to be on tonight, man. Like I had to hop on real quick when I heard you guys talking about the neck like Fuentes guy with the like shadow. I mean, this guy is just the most obvious plant, man. I mean, it's the little day that the FF happened in Australia, right? This guy was on Twitter posting about how the Muslims are the ones causing all this, and just a bunch of just like racial crap about this. And not he doesn't mention at all the people that are letting them in. He's over there just urging his audiences that that Muslim is incompatible with the West. How we have to like deport them all. And it's just like this guy is just. I mean, he is a plant written all over him, man. And all the like GOP like Congress guys, if you look at the Twitters, they're all saying the same thing. Deport the Muslims. The Muslims are causing this. Yet they're the ones in charge who are importing all these unvetted Muslims, right? Because that's the thing. The Muslims that are like committing these crimes, these are unvetted, unchecked Muslims that they're just importing within the damn country. Like if you have no checks in your immigration system, of course, a lot of bad apples are going to come in. A lot of radicalized Muslims are going to come in and cause havoc, but they do this on purpose to purposely cause like division and blame the Muslims and not blame the policies that is allowing unvetted, unchecked Muslims into the country. Because there are plenty of fantastic people that are in Islam that is compatible with the West, but they're not only importing them, they're importing all the other radicalized people that they're not checking. And then
Mhm.
you have these FF things that are happening across the Western world
Mhm.
showcasing this.
Yeah, no, definitely. And in our opinion, this is our opinion from
Yes.
YouTube guidelines, but you're absolutely right, man. You know, you have people like there's a girl, Sarah, oh man, something. She's a part of a group called Ex-Muslims of North America, and her family, her mother and father are Muslim, and they're professional. They work in medical industries. High, like you were saying, there are many people that come here legally and are adding to the society, highly educated, working in fields of professionalism, medical, law, mathematics, scholastic positions, and it adds to the country's infrastructure mentally. But then, like you said, they'll let in all of these, basically the nutcase type, that creates a situation. And then the plant, Fuentes, fuels that and gets people to create a prejudice and like a racist ideology that creates confusion when, or like you said, all they have to look at is say, wait, who made the law? Who's not vetting these people? Who? It's just like when the Cuban crime wave, when they let in, I think it was Reagan, let in all of the 25,000 people that Castro emptied from his prisons, that was pushed here to Florida, and they came up as high as New York. I remember my friend Juan Carlos telling me, because he's older, and he said he was here in New York in like the late 70s, early 80s. He goes, yeah, guys would have like 35 years to do in Castro. They do 18 years in prison, and he just let them out and sent them to America. And they were in New York, would have like 12 bodies under their belt. He goes, people would be getting chopped up. And yeah, and that's what's
Mhm.
fueled the movie Scarface, in 83. And again, that seemed to be a whole, that movie was like, it was like a commercial for people to become that type of character. And then a month and a half before that movie was released, because my cousin Dave took me to see it in a theater in Brooklyn when I was very young. I think I was like 10 or something, and or 12. And you know, it just, there was a song by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five called White Lines. And they used the beat from this group Liquid Liquid. It was a song called Caverns. And it was like the do 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 bass, do 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 ooh white. And that's when they were singing white lines blowing through my mind. And it was basically talking about cocaine, uh, sniffing cocaine and stuff. And then a month and a half later, Scarface comes out, and this was like the fourth quarter of the year. And it just fueled an epidemic that eventually turned into the crack epidemic, because you're looking, it was like 83 going into 84. And that's when it was hitting. And that's when those guys that made the movie paid in full about becoming crack dealers. And he was saying, I think his name was Faison or something like that. And he talks on the documentary, and he says, yeah, he goes, he thought he was, he didn't have, like, I guess they didn't have the cocaine he would usually buy, and they had the crack or the base, the free base, and which is the cocaine mixed with baking soda, which frees the base molecule. That's why they call it freebasing. And it's extremely addictive from what people say. And he said that he bought, I think it was $30,000 worth or something. And he goes, he figured it would last the weekend. And he said when he saw it sell out in one night, he knew that was some serious stuff. And then next thing you know, he became super rich and all of this stuff. And that was what they modeled the movie Paid in Full about his story, about how that happened. And few people got ended. And then, it just, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I saw so much stuff happen during that. It was so sad. It was so sad to see people just get destroyed, man, from those drugs. It was really, yeah, I didn't know what to say, man. Yeah, just
Hey,
yeah.
hey, MD, if I may like share my screen real quick, I do want to show just the type of stuff like just the obvious plant that is going on
Oh,
Twitter right now
oh,
with
we
this
got to
young
be
lady.
careful though, because with the live stream, like the
Mhm.
YouTube new guidelines, I've been very, very careful. Is it like safe? Like
Yeah,
what is
yeah, it's safe stuff from a like congressman. It's not like a
is it
random.
playing any videos? Because I haven't been playing videos.
It's
That
not playing any videos. If it's not playing any
is it
it's not gonna play any.
is it just a picture or?
Yep, it's just pictures pretty
Oh,
much.
okay, okay.
And then like the videos, like it's just on Twitter. If there's videos, you just scroll past it quickly, and then. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is like an obvious type of psyop that like
Mhm.
you guys are seriously gonna enjoy like like seeing this. This is just like ridiculous, right? So
Okay.
so I mean, so this person, Valina Gomez, she's running for Congress, right? And then
Hmm.
she's followed by, and look at this, followed by Myron Gaines and Nicholas J. Fuentes, right? Okay, so
Wow.
obvious plant, right? I'm gonna skip this. It's a video, but look, I mean, look at her last four posts right now. Let me show you something that's in common with this person. Right after this whole FF, whole thing happened, right?
Hmm.
You see here, she says, no, no, like Sharia is halal, right? That's like an Islam thing, right? And
Hmm.
then and then you go right here, bring back a total Muslim ban immediately, right? Again, last two posts talking about Muslims. Another one talking about how Muslims killed or unalived American soldiers. Again, Muslims again talking about Muslims. This is why I fight so hard against Islam. Like the last four posts for the
Wow.
past 2 days have been all about Islam. Another
Wow.
one, Islam, Muslim.
Wow. They're
Another
trying to.
one, Islam. It's just all
Wow.
constantly talking about Islam,
It kind of
constantly talking
reminds.
about Islam.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, remember Lauren Southern? Lauren
Yeah,
Southern was the blonde chick that looked like, I used to say she looked like Christian Slater with a blonde wig. Um, and she was always talking about that, right? And then it came to find out she had an ex-boyfriend who was Muslim that left her. Like they showed the pictures and everything, like they exposed her, like she was trying to play. This was 2020, 2019, 2018 to 2020, 2022. I think by the time 2021 or something around there, she was getting exposed. Her name wasn't even Southern. She actually had a Jewish last name. And they exposed her for that because she was playing her whole game toward the white nationalists, trying to be like, oh, this and that. And she would be in Texas, trying to, again, very similar to the woman you just showed, trying to like inflate it, and then come to find out that her ex-boyfriend was Muslim. He left her, and that she had like a vindictive thing. And it's like, wow, total plant, man. And the fact that Myron Gaines, I mean, I don't even know what to say about him. Like, I mean, it's
he's claiming he's a Muslim. By the way, he claims that he's an Islam and that he's a Muslim, but he follows and he constantly bashes Muslims and he
yeah,
follows accounts that bashes Muslims.
yeah,
I mean, this guy doesn't even make sense. And he
yeah.
and he came from a Muslim family, but he's an
Full,
obvious
yep,
plant.
yeah, full plant. He was in I don't know if it was Egypt or something, and he had the whole gear on, the wrap, the headgear, with Sneeko, because I think they converted Sneeko
Who's the
on camera.
Sneeko guy, by the way? Because the Sneeko guy's talking about that he's Muslim as well,
Yeah, he
and he's
got
on
converted.
stream like the.
He's
I
that
I
think
young
he
mean,
got
kid.
converted by Gaines. Mr. X, yes.
No, he's that young kid. He got punched in the face, I think, by a bouncer.
Yes, yes, by Sean
yeah.
Strickland in the thing. But he see, that's their big thing, converting people on camera, because I think they were in they had like the long like that long tan robe or something, like it's a pullover, and it looked like they were in Egypt. Like I don't I remember like the background. This was like maybe 2 years ago or something. And he was you know, like Tate, remember when Tate converted? Like it's like a commercial. Like I don't know if they're being paid
He's
to.
also bashing Muslims, though. He's saying that Muslims are invading the West and that they need to kick him out. But he converted to Islam.
Yeah, he's Muslim. That's
Yeah,
Nico.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
No,
Him.
no, no. It's not the Sneeko. Like, you know, it's so Andrew Tate is the one that converted, but he's saying that the West doesn't need Muslims and that the Muslims are invading there and that they're
Well,
raping the
it's
the
like you
people
said,
there. It's like what?
and they're not addressing the fact that the politicians are letting in these guys. I had played a clip of he's a high-ranking Islam official, and he was saying that, look, the problem is you're letting these guys into your country, and that's what's causing what happened in Australia with the Bondi Beach shooting. It's sort of like you got these guys, you radicalize them, they go nuts, and then you blame, oh, you know, it's the people that they're letting in, but they're never addressing who's letting them in. So it's like, okay, yeah, half the blame, I can give you that. It's there. And it's horrible when you see guys that are the Somalians that are in Minnesota, a majority, I wouldn't say all, there are a few of them that have come and are doing political things. But when you look at what's going on, it's crazy. Like, it's like you said, wait a minute, who's making the laws? Who's not vetting these people when they're coming in? Just the way they weren't vetting the Cuban crime wave when it came in, the Russians when it came in to Brighton Beach, and the Ukrainians, and that's what created the entire part of Brooklyn of and Queens, where it was extremely Russian, run by what they would say is the Russian mob. Timbo says Pearly Things is also on the race grift now. Yeah, man, I've definitely heard some
You know,
videos. Yeah,
you know, like it's always like they all move on to another topic at the same time. It's like it's as if like the puppets were being ordered by someone else to constantly swap topics, you know, because it was the red pill dating grid that y'all went in, and then now and then when the 2020 and then during the election, it was the election grift. So they all moved into the election grift. It was talking about how like, you know, Trump is a lot better than like Kamala and like on the vote for Trump. And then after all this, now we're at the race grift right now, where they're
mhm.
all moving over to now talking about race and like kicking out the immigrants. It's like they all do it at the
Yeah,
same exact time.
yeah. There's something behind the scene giving orders, telling them, okay, this is the script. You say it, and we're not dismissing the bad behavior by, like what you said about the lower uh the Muslims that you don't want, you know, the criminals, the ones that saying, okay, look, these people should have been vetted and shouldn't have been allowed in. We're not saying that they should be here. We're just saying to only say that, oh, look, that's the problem, when you know that the person that let them in is a bigger part of the problem, because you have to stop that. It's just like
Yeah.
the Latin immigrants. It's sort of like saying, okay, if you're going to give people all of this stuff, then of course they're going to try to get here. You know, it's crazy that you
Mhm.
can let somebody
I'm
file.
And and
Yeah.
there were literal like have you seen the videos where there are literal boats of Muslim migrants just coming to Europe and they're not getting
Uh-huh.
checked at all? And I'm
Yep.
sitting there, I'm like,
Yeah.
this shit is
Yeah.
being, I'm sorry, I'm sorry for cursing, but this is being allowed. Like the politicians
Hmm.
are not saying that like the Coast Guard's not even stopping them.
And
Like
they're all
boats
men.
of migrant and they're all military age men
Yes.
just flooding, just
Yeah.
boats of them coming to Europe. And the
Yeah.
Coast Guard is being told not to interfere with them by who? By the politicians. But
Hmm.
people are sitting there blaming the religion and not blaming them for just importing millions of them into the country, not stopping them.
It's crazy. It's really like it's at a point where it's just like, man. I mean, and I'm not religious. I definitely think that, when people look into religion, it can be used to radicalize people. So we do see that. We see it with Christians, and we see it with Muslims as well. We see it with all religions. And there's certain things we can and can't say. The reason I'm very careful is because I want to keep being able to talk about news and stuff that can help people out, to say, listen, if we take it little bits at a time and we say it in the right way, we can talk about almost anything in a respectful manner, because it's our opinion. We do some of it for entertainment, all saying within the YouTube guidelines. And when other people like have told me, oh, well, what do you mean you can't say what you want? And I mentioned you, I think, on the last stream of the one before. And I said, listen, Jamal Green is a pilot. He knows, and he stated that you can't talk to the other pilots or people about trails, or about the towers and stuff. So because you want to continue working as a pilot with the airport, with the airline. So how would you expect, you wouldn't say, oh no, I demand to know about what's in the sky or whatever, it's going to cause a problem with your employment with the airline. Same thing with YouTube. I tell guys, look, this is a place where people are like, look, we have to abide by certain things. Yeah, we would like to talk about stuff, but that's the guidelines, because I remember you mentioning something like that on one of the previous streams.
I think, you know what
Yeah,
you
of
mentioned.
course.
I'm just saying, what's the end game of all this? I think it's to increase surveillance and
Oh
let the
yeah,
American public just embrace it. Like, yeah, you can look at my background, you can look at everything into me.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Look at the Bondi Beach. Did you look at that? What happened, Mr. X,
I
recently?
saw the highlights. I saw that guy tackling him.
Bro, right at the end, I was looking at some of it while I was setting up the stream.
Mhm.
At the end of it, they go, "Oh, what do we need from this? Stricter gun laws." So,
Yep. So
so blatant.
also, and also they also said hate speech laws as well. So I don't know what hate speech has to do with that, but now they're saying they need stricter
Censorship.
hate speech laws. Like
Yep.
what?
Censorship, totally.
Yeah.
Christopher, good to see you, brother. He says the Brits are slashing the boats coming from France over the channel to the UK. Holy smokes. They're pushing the digital ID. Wow. You know something? And it's so sad because I hear they're pushing that hard in the UK, man. And what happens in the UK, it's going to spread.
Oh yeah, it's
So,
coming here. It
yeah,
starts in comes here
yeah.
next.
I'm so glad they're trying to hold it off with, getting rid of the boats and stuff. And I mean, that
Is it
is,
too late though, MB? Like MB, is it too late now in Europe? Because I mean, like we all have seen the videos that the politicians have done by importing millions of these immigrants, and like, is it too late? Like, because people are waking up. Like, I'm
it
surprised.
is,
People are
yeah.
surprisingly waking up, and they're like, yeah, this is like crazy. Like, I
I,
mean, I'm in Europe, and I'm seeing like this place that looks like it's in Saudi Arabia, and like these guys like unchecked Muslims, and it's like the politicians are just allowing this.
it's really sad. When they told me, somebody confirmed it on the stream, because somebody had said there's over 3,000 mosques in England. Now, I don't know if it's in London. If there's 3,000 mosques in London, that is just, I mean, that's almost unimaginable. Like, holy smokes. I mean, you're seeing the level of the problem. But even if it's 3,000 mosques in England, that's crazy. That is freaking crazy. They say they're buying up churches, they're buying up places, and they've turned them into mosques. Now, this is, again, it goes into the religious doctrine of saying, okay, they have something, and I have to study it more to know for sure, that they're saying once a mosque is built, that it can't be, if it's tore down, it has to be, like saying, oh, we claim this land now. So there's like some serious, the radicalized ones will push that. Now, I know the Quran is different from the Hadith, because the Hadith is what I guess imams wrote about Islam as well. It's kind of similar to the Talmud compared to the Torah. So the Torah will have certain things, but then the Talmud would have stuff written by rabbis, which can get much more radicalized, just like the Hadith. And that's what I've heard. I'd have to look into it. This is my opinion, that that the beef between the Sunni and the Shiite Muslims is that one follows the Quran more to the word and the other followed the Hadith. Like they include that as well. So that's the beef, because I knew a guy from Iran and I asked him, I said, what's the beef between, you and the different Muslims from Iraq or the other areas? And he was explaining it to me. So, and it's crazy because this goes back to, does anybody think for themselves? Does anybody, it's like, it's a book. There's no book that can tell you how to live. Alexis says, Muhammad has been the #1 new boy name in the past 4 years in the UK. It's over. Holy shit. I heard that it's the most common name in the world, actually. That's how many people, when that shows you Clone City. I had a friend, his mother's Lumbee native. His father is Muslim, I think from Iran. And his middle name, I think, is Muhammad. And he is not religious. And I saw how it was almost driving him insane, like especially during the 9/11 thing. Chad 5577 says, a Muslim ran up on me hard at the gym trying to rob. Holy smokes, that's brutal. Yeah, and we're not saying that there ain't no criminals, man, because the whole expansion, I've showed the maps. There ain't no peaceful. Every major city in the UK has mosques. Holy smokes. That's
and they have plants too, and be like there's Muslims that are like blocking the streets praying. I'm like, this is not normal Muslim behavior. I feel like these Muslims are just plants that are trying to make the.
I think so too. I agree with Jamal.
Yeah, totally, because there are some peaceful, there's good and bad people. There's good people in every religion. And this is why I'm very, making sure I state that. Gaia the Sage says, this is some pretty good stuff. Liked, nice to have more nuance, like the often blatant Islamophobia over the Gnosis. Green had some excellent points. Wow, man. Hey, at here, this used to be called Wisdom Radio. I might switch it back, but American Zombie fits it, good too. Vrilister, is that from Vril, the book? Whites are less than 7% of the global population. I don't think that's true. I think you'd have to look.
It's kind of small. Yeah.
Well, when you look at America, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let me address this. There's more Irish in New York City than there are in Dublin, Ireland, or Dublin, right? There's more Italians in New York than there is in Rome, and there's more Jewish people here than in Tel Aviv. All of those groups are white. Across the entire United States is 70% white. And then you have Canada. Then you have Australia, where Australia was a black continent. It is not a black continent anymore. It is a white continent. So Vrilster, I think that's incorrect. And again, if you're trying to play into the, oh my goodness, there's always a problem with people of color, right? It's supposed to be always supposed
I
to
know.
be, right? And it's just, and I'm not saying, I'm like, look, I have relatives from England. I have relatives from many different parts of different ethnicities. Lexus Jun, man, thank you for the support, brother. Always, bro. He says Trump designates street fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. This sounds a lot like when Bush labeled Iraq as WMDs to invade. Is Trump pushing to invade Venezuela?
I think so. So.
Clearly.
Lots of oil.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, this is just a playbook with freaking Iraq. Exactly the same thing. They labeled the country as having weapons of mass destruction. The country has tons of oil and resources, and now he's trying to push for us to go to war. I mean, this dude's like blockading like the ships. He's surrounding the country with a bunch of boats and like just military personnel. I mean, this is and this is the guy that was saying no new wars, no new wars.
Lies, just lies. In our opinions, our opinions is this is you're absolutely right, Alexis. It seems that he's pushing to so-called invade it, and I would say, in my opinion, that they're in league with the cartels. They're in league with the oil thing. I mean, this is so orchestrated. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, Vrilsta, and this is the thing. If now you're saying it's 59%, right? You know, and it's just, it just cracks me
Why
up.
is he so obsessed with this
Yeah,
shit?
he's so upset. But this is the thing. You're not, you know, out of that 59%, I would say 50% are not quality. 50% are the ones, all right, put it this way. I showed the stats. 70% are perpetrators of child porn, of child pictures and stuff like that. I'm
Corn.
not gonna demonize all of white people for that statistic, but that must be taken into account. So out of that 59% that you're saying, I would say 50% are not of great stock. You know, when they try to say, you know, what is the aristocracies, the Aryan stock nations or something. I mean, this racism stuff this is where it comes from, man. This, I've never heard people say that there's too many, you know, there's always too many people of color, but there's never too many saying, oh, they, you know, these people came over Canada, all of this stuff. If you just look at, and I don't harp on race like that. You know, I don't harp on race like that. And, you know, global percentage, it's like, who cares? So why should white people be a majority in China or India? And you know,
Yeah, really.
Like, I hope this guy realizes that white people have always been like globally, they've always been a minority. This is like,
this is the thing with the Human Origins book. I'm going to show that some stuff where they haven't always been a minority, and every race has seen a decline. It's just that the Europeans is for Europeans it started first. Give it 10 years. Other, I mean, I got to look into this. Not that guy, but this is, you know, and see, this is where the shocking thing with the research that I've been doing for the past 11 years. With this Human Origins, I figure it's much more important than the American Zombie book. It could bring people together, but it's also going to show us that it's a shocking place where if we follow evidence, where that evidence leads, and it will show Virilsta, because I don't know if Virilsta is part of that guy from Atlantean, the guy, what's his name again, Robert Seffer, who you know, I mean, I don't even know where to begin. But
people are worried about the wrong crap. That's the problem.
You know what?
They're worried about the wrong thing. Oh, it's 7%. So what?
You're
not going to live forever, buddy.
The real minority is the minority of intelligent people.
Exactly.
That's the minority. There's the minority of intelligent people. He says, first comment, brother, why should white people be a minority? And they I don't think they should. We were just talking about that. Like, you know, this is, well, and now you're getting in touch with the West.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yeah, please.
Blame, he needs to blame the white politicians who allowed this to happen.
Thank you.
Blame your own people. Stop looking at other people, other groups. Blame your own people for this.
Yes. And black politicians. It's not the Arab politicians.
Yeah, black politicians.
It's the white ones.
Yeah,
all the white ones are the ones.
All politicians, basically. They're all. But one thing that it comes from rhetoric like this right here, trying to say Eurasia. Asia is the majority of this continent. It is called Asia, not Eurasia. This tiny little part over on the left end, that is Western Asia, which they try to separate from the rest of the world. That tiny little part, which is not the majority of that continent. You see, what they try to say, it's its own continent. The continent is a continuous mass of land. This entire red area, this entire gray area is one continent called Asia, and the western part of Asia, right? The western part, that is why it's called the Western world. It is not called the Western world because it's the western part of Europe. It's the western part of Asia. And the latter part of the word Caucasian is Asian. Caucasian, Caucasus Mountain Asian, which is another false, ridiculous, just insane, ignorant classification to say all people that have less melanin come from a group from the Caucasus Mountains of Asia, which is a very small part. And this is where it starts, man. This is where this is the IQ test. When you ask somebody if Europe is a continent and they say yes, you know that this person is very low IQ, because Asia is a continent and India is not a subcontinent. It is part of the Asian continent, but India has very dark-skinned people. And that racism doesn't want dark-skinned people or people that have a yellow hue to be on the same continent as their pretty little, whatever. Again, back to this book, preservation of the favored races in the struggle. Oh my goodness, the struggle for life. We're all connected in one big dysfunctional human family,
Sure.
whether you like it or not. And that's just what it is. We all have red blood. It might be maybe different blood types, but we all have 5 fingers. You really look at it, it's crazy, man.
Well, what's the biggest thing separating Africa from Asia? What will be the biggest divide?
The only divide, and this is,
I know what it is. It's water. I'm sorry.
well, no, it's not.
That's it. It's just water,
If you look here, the Suez Canal is what separates Africa from Asia, and the Suez Canal is man-made. So if you look at it scientifically, Africa is actually part. So this is one gigantic continent.
Exactly. That was my whole point. They're all human beings.
You're absolutely right, Mr. Rex. Africa and Asia together are one continent, just the way the Americas is one continent. The Panama Canal uses locks and levers to raise the water level. Scribe lives there. He was born there. His father's Air Force. And anybody can look it up, that it's not separated really. They dug it out, Theodore Roosevelt, to where they can get it to where they could raise the levels. So America is one continent. Asia and Africa is actually one continent. For sake of argument, we could say 2. But when you really look at it, it's the Suez Canal, that little slither right there in the Middle East, that separates it. And that's an extremely militarized control point, just the way the Panama Canal is. And this is where the learning comes in. Like we see right here again, Asia, at the least, Asia is its own continent. There is no Europe. There is no India subcontinent. They can't call them subhuman openly anymore. So they try to say subcontinent. They can't call the Central Africans subhuman. So what do they call it? Sub-Saharan Africa. That is not sub-Saharan Africa. That is Central Africa, in the middle. Central Africa. And it's horrible because that's what causes the division. When you have people being looked at as if they're closer to monkeys than human beings, you're going to cause a mental problem within that. And vegan skeptic, you might be right. Aphasia, or you're going to give hey, it is what it is, bro. And that's what I'm saying with the Human Origins book. I'm following evidence, and people are going to be like, holy smokes, where is this guy going? I'm going where the evidence leads me. And I'm really pushing to have this book out before Christmas, to have it, like I talked to Scribe today, I'm saying 3 to 4 days, but the streams at night are so fun hanging with you guys. I want to keep these going, and I edit during the early part. And then, of course, everybody's got to work. Hopefully I can do YouTube full time. I'll see how it works out. Not that guy says the black, oh man, the birth rate again, the birth rate. Holy smokes, man. Yeah. And it would be tough, bro. I mean, I look at it as, different genomes. I thank goodness in a way that there's a mixture that I see, because I happen to be 6'1". I looked at the success I've had with women. I mean, guys that just have it easier like that, we're more laid back. I don't have the insecurities that I see in most other men, and especially like Fuentes and these guys. If they got a male endowment insecurity, it speaks through what they say. So I look at myself as thank goodness. I'm happy, and hopefully I can help people. Alexis says, is this because all of the FF that attacked Muslims, the 9/11 attack? I mean, there is a lot of FF, but there are a lot of other things, the factors that could go in there. I would say, Alexa says, I just don't understand why they keep attacking them specifically. No one cares about the Asians. Yeah, something that's a big thing too. Thank you for bringing up. There was a senator. I'll look for the clip of talking about the Chinese. They had like over 10,000 undocumented military age guys here. They had another one where there was some type of bacterial thing that was brought here. Nobody talks about this stuff. One politician had mentioned that, and they try to, I think it's a distraction thing, but then it's also, they'll have these radicalized ones. They'll do something like the Bondi Beach. So they definitely try to push that agenda. Yeah, they definitely try to push that agenda. Just trying.
Yeah, it's it's all on purpose. You have the whole 9/11 attacks, which they blame on Muslims, and you have the prior attacks on the Twin Towers. I mean, and then you have all, and like majority of the like terror attacks in America since then have been from the religion of freaking Islam. It's like, this is like, but and like these attacks, are
oh, you already know. It's the fact that we got to be careful on how we speak of it. We're right there. That's
Timbo.
So much. Timbo says a favorite saying of mine is, if you're pissed off at someone on the lower socioeconomic scale, you're probably being manipulated by someone higher on the social.
That's facts. That is major facts right there.
Major facts, bro. Timbo is on point, man. It's so true, man. It's vegan skeptic is. Aphrasia is, that you are so real, brother. And we got the link pinned to the top of the chat if you want to come on. Vegan skeptic, always, Timbo comes up with the great quotes, man. He definitely does. Vegan skeptic says, I remember you talking about this the other day as well. Very interesting topic. What is the real amount of continents you think? Others think there may be other hidden continents after Antarctica, and that could be very true. Like Scribe, I don't know if this is going to summon him to come on. He knows it's a pleasure to have him on if he's listening. I would say that everybody, Alexa just popped up. Alexa, the thing, the computer thing. I would say there is 4. So if we count it like we were saying, right here, I'll pull up the chart. Let me just put the comment. I would say 4. Like when we look at this world map here, America is one continent because the Panama Canal does not separate it, because the locks and levers have to raise the water level. So when the water level is normal, it is connected. So America, right? Which can be talked with North and South, just the way you have West and East Asia, which is still part of Asia, right? So we got America, Aphrasia, or Asia, Africa, whichever way you want to talk about it. But it is one continent because the Suez Canal is man-made, as we see here in this picture. So the Suez Canal, that little slither of I think I had a closer picture of it here. Yeah. So that is man-made. So we're looking at America, Aphrasia, Antarctica, and Australia. So that's 4 continents, and there's probably other continents. This map is just the map that they're telling us. So you have a very good point in that. You have an excellent observation there. So that says a lot. Really, I would think that there is so much more than what we're told. And it's such a beautiful thing because we're learning. Yeah, Moo Bronsberg, good to see you, brother. The ancient continent of Lemuria, which would be in the Pacific area. So you look into the west of South America there, where if you go very far west, you're going to hit Easter Island, which is probably the most isolated island. And what do they have there? The statues, the Maori. You're looking at the most isolated island on the planet that we know of, and it has artifacts showing that there must have been some type of global civilization. Atlantis, they're saying, is probably in the Atlantic. So that's between somewhere North America and Africa, but there is
Some
stuff
say it's in the Western Sahara, the Eye of the Sahara, that
the
area.
Eye of Sahara too.
Yeah.
And some people say that it could even be the Americas, like, the Bimini Road in the Bahamas,
Oh,
so
yeah.
there's so much. Atlantis could be from that Western Eye of Sahara and expand. We
To
have Mu, which I think Mu is short for Lemuria, which would be in the Pacific. And then, like Vegan Skeptic is saying, there's probably much more continents than what we're seeing
Sure.
on that map. Yeah, I would agree to that. What about Greenland's very small, because remember the map distorts it. Greenland is much smaller than what's on that map. So yeah, that's what responsive curve. MD, have you ever heard that dumb theory that all human life started in Africa? It's a racism psyop trying to say Africans are the least evolved type of current human. Absolutely, bro.
Yeah,
I'm so glad to see that. It's full-blown psyop. It's again goes right back to the religion of evolution, trying to say that, and it's been so disproven. It's been so disproven, and I'll be able to like hammer on that theory once I publish the book and everything. I can let all of the research out there. Yeah, you're totally right. It's such a lie, and it's so ridiculous. But the sad thing is that it's taught in all of the schools. They had to build these churches disguised as universities and to teach the religious doctrine of evolution. And their cathedral is the Museum of Natural History. Like I've said before, Charles Darwin is the Pope. The Messiah is the missing link that's always coming. And the cardinals and bishops are Neil deGrasse Tyson, Richard Dawkins, Michio Kaku, all of these people that pose up as, they're the and they're paid. They're paid, man. Yeah, and you're right, Vegan Skeptic. It's the worst theory ever. It's not even a theory. It's less than a hypothesis. It's racist rhetoric, actually. Yeah, it's basically that. Gaia, it's so true. Gaia says, starting to wonder if the reason literature has gone to crap is because all those that would be writing the next classical literature are writing speeches for corrupt politicians. Correlation, causation. Holy smoke, still interesting. Yeah, it's deep, man. Yeah, evolution equals millions of lies packed together. Exactly. Crap of Jenga Tower. That's a good way of putting it. Craig says, MD, what's your opinion on China taking on everything? They really try to push it. While I don't think America's on our side, the type of behavior. China, what's happening in China is that social credit score, it's already here.
Yeah.
It's just not as blatant. It's definitely and it's messed up, man. I'd like to be more free too. But when I think about the fact of what they take out in our taxes, man, I'm not too happy about that, especially when someone blatantly says they're giving $40 billion to Argentina, $200 billion to Ukraine, and all these other countries too. We know that there's countries all throughout the Middle East that get money. Where's the money for us? Where's the money? Why don't we have free healthcare?
Yes.
Why don't? Matter of fact, free healthcare is talking in a lower stance. We shouldn't have to need for anything. There should be. Flint, Michigan, still doesn't have drinkable water. We should not have to filter water. When certain companies pollute the water, we shouldn't have to pay for water filters that don't even get out, unless you're paying for a high quality reverse osmosis, which is too expensive for some. At least give us those for free. I have to pay for these pitcher water filters that's only really filtering out certain things. But yeah, it's cooked. It's cooked, bro, man. It's cooked. MD politician can be respelled too. It can spin lies too. Really? Oh, I gotta look at that, man. I gotta thank you.
That's a good one.
In politics, I spin lies. I spin. All right. In
Is there an
politics,
S? There's no S though.
well, S. Yeah.
I think it's talking about like politicians, maybe. Is that right?
Yeah, but there's
Like
no
politicians.
O. Where's the O then?
Yeah, exactly. Or the A.
Yeah, we have to fit in every letter. We have to, if it can fit every letter of politician or politics, then we'd have a real anagram like that, and I appreciate that. There is a, but this one here, like I always put this up from Spellcaster, just the fact that you can spell elite hustlers in a deception from the U.S. presidential election.
Mhm.
I mean, that's just beyond.
Wait, but about like his like first point, I can spin lies too. I don't think there's any. I think all those actually do
Oh,
like count as
wait, he said
one.
I can spin lies too. Let me pop that up again. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I can.
okay, so oh no, but that's two O's. Yeah, that's two O's. Or if it's one O,
Yeah. I can see
I'm trying to
unless we can
see.
count like one O.
I can or can spin lies too, but with one O. I'd have to check that. Yeah, politician. Um, wow, Super Sidewinder, you're in Flint, man. That's brutal,
That's
man.
rough, man. That's rough.
Oh, that's so messed
Seeing
up.
pictures of Flint looks really, really.
Yeah, and nobody cares, man. I heard Detroit is just like, Mad Max on the Thunderdome type of stuff.
Mhm.
It used to be like a mecca for the car production, right? Like,
Oh, it was considered one of the best cities in the world. And
yeah. And now it's just, it's just, I tell you, man, when I think about that, it's like, how about one tactic? I spin lies. What does I spin lies spell? Is that because we're missing the O from politics?
No. I think the O is in one. So one tactic, I spin lies, and it's only one O in that one at least.
I'm trying to think like what is it? Yeah, I got to figure it out like how he's trying to put it. I don't understand it. Politicians, politician has one T, right? Politician. Yeah, I'd have to mess with the anagrams because when I wrote secret words, man,
Yeah.
it took a lot of research, man, to get this stuff. I
Mhm.
could not believe that the US presidential election, that every letter can be respelled to spell the phrase elite hustlers and a deception. That's like the language trying to tell me something. That
Right.
shows that the US presidential election is elite hustlers and a deception, right? I mean, it's underrated. Secret Words is an underrated book. Hopefully, I'll find out a way to market it, and then I can do YouTube full time. That would be great. If one of the books work out, I'd make a paycheck, and I'd be good at doing this because this is what I love doing: teaching and writing and producing. Vegan Skeptic says the real system seems to be more based on karma. Karma is real, man, but unfortunately only works for the fake actors. Now not the real ones who didn't realize they've been an actor their entire life. Like the Truman Show, man. Yeah, the Truman Show. They're punishing us for the sit down. Yeah, man. It just, I wonder, it's like a lack of action, a lack of action, bro. It's just, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, if you guys
I
can
mean,
just
yeah.
give me like 3 to 5 minutes. I'll be right back. Jamal, if you and Mr. X can continue the show, I'll be right
Oh,
back.
it's all good. Of
Okay.
course,
Oh,
yeah.
good. We'll hang out here for a bit. Keep it rolling. How's everything,
Yeah,
Jamal?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How about yourself, Mr. X?
Hanging in there, just doing what I got to do to make a living. Keep things going in my life.
I know, bro. I know. And the economy, man, it's only getting worse and all that. But like I try to just tone myself off of that crap. I stopped watching news for like the past like 5 years now. And trust me, like my mental health is just so much better not have to worry about a bunch of this crap that like they constantly spill into the news and just it's just a bunch of zombie information and zombifying you, man. It's just like
Yeah, you're not missing much. I mean, they might have one or two stories, and then they're just talking nonsense, pretty much. Yeah, they're just. Yeah, you never really get the truth of what's going on out here. I mean, I
oh,
get more
absolutely
information
not.
on the internet, honestly.
I mean, but the internet has turned into a complete, I mean, zombification as well. Like you try to Google stuff, you just get like all the first page results is just a bunch of like brainwash political garbage or like, like for example, I was trying to, like Google the like JFK thing because I was just interested in researching about like that again. And the
Hmm.
first results is just all talking about how conspiracy theorists are like discrediting JFK, how JFK assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald is a real killer. I'm not searching for this stuff, but like it's popping up, trying to like convince me that like what I'm searching is like apparently wrong. It's like this stuff is like it knows what we're trying to do, and like and Google is just no longer a trusted source when it comes to stuff, especially since they've done like those AI answers. If you've seen them, I mean, just
Yeah, I use it all
completely
the time,
BS.
actually. It does come convenient for just general information. Um, but yeah, but that's why I'm such a supporter of these streams. It's just this is where we can come, discuss, and come to our own conclusions about things. Yeah,
That's the important part is
that's
that
the only
we
way.
come to our own like our own like conclusions, but people they let other people tell them what the conclusion is.
Yes, yes. Now I don't have all the answers. I don't think any of us do. But if we work together and take pieces of it, we can get somewhere. At least get a piece of the puzzle. Information is very powerful. It can really change your life if you have the right type of information.
Oh yeah, for
People,
sure. I mean, for sure. And this stream is the only place where I can like legitimately find it. Like this stream is the only place where we can talk about, you know, actual topics. And it sucks that we have to be like careful nowadays, but it is what it is.
it is what it
Like
is. Yeah,
the only other like person that like talks a lot about like conspiracy theories is like Alex Jones, but we know that he's just another, plant that just comes in and just he
but
just
I'll admit I
says a
used
bunch
to
of
watch
crazy
him all the
stuff.
time. I used to be a big Alex Jones fan. I admit that. Way back when, early 2000s, I used to watch him all the time. He had good stuff.
I
Uh,
think he got. I don't think he came in being corrupted. I think he got corrupted because his very, very early stuff.
mhm.
Which you probably seen his early stuff. It was talking about how 9/11 was
Yeah,
definitely like some type of psyop, right?
right.
I remember that he was like, oh, this is a psyop that's making us wants us to hate Muslims and wants us to like support Israel. And then you look at him now, now he's talking about how 9/11 is like, yeah, like it's pretty, like suspicious, but there's no denying that Muslims are behind it. Like, this is the same Alex Jones from like back then.
Yeah, no,
Like
he's
now he's
totally changed. He couldn't even have his show now, but at least it opened the door to get you to think. Because I when I heard the original story, I was in New York, and I figured what they were saying was true. But then when I heard through Alex Jones about World Trade Center 7, and it's like it gets you to think. So it's not that I just take everything he says to heart, but at least that kind of talk opens up your mind to get out of the narrative and look at things in another light. Um, Sometimes that's the best we can do is just at least see things in another light. Uh,
yeah. I mean, he's a good he's a good starting point, I'd say, but he's
yeah,
definitely not a good person to stay with.
I mean, we're
But
just not going to find one person who's going to give us all the answers. I don't think that's going to happen.
mhm.
You know.
But on this whole race thing, right? I
Mhm.
think we both agree that like these like videos of like because Mr. X, you have seen those videos like there's like a ton of like Muslims blocking the road to like pray, right?
I may have seen it once. I really, because I'm always looking up other things, so I don't. I think I've heard about it, but I don't. But I think it's fake, personally. I don't. Why would Muslims do that? They usually don't do that. They just
They
say,
don't do that. Thank you. They don't. No, normal Muslims do not do that. They do
"Yeah,
not. They do not do that. And then on the other hand of things, I'm seeing a lot of like Christians saying that like they need to like remove Muslims, but like not just like not like just deportation. I'm talking like straight up like they're talking like we need to like attack them. Some of them are advocating for like unalive them. Like these Christians are also more than likely plants that are coming in trying to spread anti-Christian values. And like it's like I think we're getting on both of the like spectrums. Like we're getting plants on both of the like spectrum that's trying to push for more like division.
division," and it could be just to weed out the people. They want to see who will fall for it. They put in these plants and see who responds and who gets, who the nutcases are. Maybe they. It's just, I don't know. It could be a multitude of things. I mean, I don't think when they attack us, the elites, they attack us from different angles. This is like a science for them.
Yeah.
Uh, they might want to get rid of certain people who they think are detrimental to society. They want to might just start monitoring everything we do. and have the the world public just say, yeah, please do it. We're scared of these other groups. Give us the chip. We don't mind. Just
I mean,
take it.
Mr. X, we already are all being monitored 100%. I mean, like Kamala Harris has already confirmed that they can hack into your our Bluetooth stuff at any time and listen to us, right? I
Mhm.
mean, it's just more so they wanted to do it more openly, right? Because right now, like they're doing it, like secretly, because people are still not that zombified that they're okay with like knowing that the government is like actively watching them openly and the government tells
Right.
them to. But I think they're pushing it more now where it's like, hey, we want to openly do it. That way, there's no hiding. We just blatantly, like, everyone knows, hey, when you go on your phone, we know exactly what you text, you know exactly who you're talking to,
Yeah.
etc. Like, they want us to fully accept it and for them to openly admit that they do it. Because Edward Snowden already, like, which I mean, he's on another side, but he already confirmed that, like, these guys are spying on us. And then what did the American like people do? We
Yeah.
didn't overthrow the government. We didn't do anything like that. Which, by we're not advocating to overthrow like the government. Just want to make sure that is stated on YouTube. But I'm saying like people were like acceptance of it, right? When like apparently 300 years ago or 250 years ago, right? We just got taxed a little bit by the British, and we like went haywire. We like did all something like like, but now we're like at the state where it's like the government can openly tell us that they're spying on us and
But
are violating our rights, and then we just say, okay,
we also have to be very careful too, because with all this censorship and watching us and this and that, people are going to start getting paranoid about everything, and that can cause them to go crazy. Also, so it might be also that too. Some of these conspiracy channels want to drive you nuts and make it's just like I wouldn't even leave my house because they're watching me at this point. You know what I mean? It's just so it's like a slippery slope too. Like I'll still come on these panels and say what I want to say. I mean, obviously I'll stay within the guidelines for the stream's sake, but I don't want to be paranoid either. It's just watch every little thing I say. I mean, just sometimes I don't know. When MD comes back, I like to ask him, like, because he hosts the streams. It's like sometimes he ever finds himself trying to be careful what he says just out in general public. You know what I mean? Based on
Yeah.
YouTube.
No, no, you're absolutely right. I just got back. You're right. It messes with the way we think. We need, and that's why Scribe and I, we were thinking about trying to build a website. I'll see what happens. Or because we have to be able to speak openly, to have some platform to where we can talk. I don't know if we'll probably, because I've heard some people have done it on Kick and other things like that. Maybe say, okay, we stream here for a little bit, and then it's like, all right, we're going over there to continue it. But we still have to be careful because, we're not going to say anything against these platforms. We're just going to say, look, there's certain things we abide by the rules over here, but now there's things we'd like to talk about that we need a freer
Mhm.
platform to really just go all out. And it's just the basic stuff because he knows how to set everything up. He's like, the server monthly, whatever it is for bandwidth. Because say we start getting 1,000, 2,000 people watching, then the bandwidth price would go up. If we can find a way to cover it, that's what I was saying. If one of my books, start to make good money, I could cover it. Or if we find a way to fix it, I told him, I said, if we have to charge, I said, I don't want to charge more than $10 a month. I said, that's a fair, very low price. And then if that covers everything, then it just, yeah, it makes you think. I think, let me check. Did
Hey,
Alexis?
would you be able to upload some of these videos on another platform, and then maybe
Yeah,
that'd be a
yeah.
way to get
Scribe,
traffic?
yeah, that's what he was saying. He said it would be something like to where we can upload it because that'll require a video player with bandwidth and everything. So if we can figure out the course, and I said, okay, if we have enough to where we can keep it 10, I guess at most 20, I think 20 is a little, people would be a little hesitant, even if it's 20 a month, but 10, I could see people being able to say, okay. And it would, if that, or maybe another, like how some people do Rumble and other stuff like that, to where
Mhm.
we could say, okay, we could do that. And then we can just say, I guess it's a lot more loose over there.
Yeah.
So kind of like a split thing to say we're doing some here. Alexis, brother, thank you for the support. Alexis says, MD, if suited men came to your house and told you either you become a puppet for them or they silence you, what option would you honestly choose? At this point, man, if somebody threatens to off me, I'm like, great, because I've lived a really great life. I'm happy. Everybody I've loved the most is not here anymore. So it's kind of like, I'm not going to become a puppet, because then it's like I can't live with myself. I can't look in the mirror. I can't, that is not really living. So when I look at people that I understand where Rogan and these guys had to recant on the moon thing and all of that, but it's like, hey, you know what? Um, it's like that's, I just look at it as, all right, if they're gonna do something, then I can't stop that. I look at it as the more I start to go through reality, is some part of me says a lot of this is written out already. Because sometimes I'll try really hard to change something and do something, and I'll be like, man, it's just not working out. And then there are things that it'll happen without me even trying. And I realized that the big thing is that people aren't here anymore, that it's just me now. So now it's very hard to intimidate a man like that. And when I was in the military, I there was times where I didn't listen to orders, and they do make you pay for it, but I learned how to take that. I learned how to say, you know what? Um, a good death is a good death, man. It's not dying. They're sending me into the next. So if they're gonna send me into the next, man, I might as well go with dignity. That's the main thing, to say that I keep with that. And I'm honestly, every night when I go to sleep, like even tonight, it's sort of like it's not a big thing if I don't wake up. I'm at the point where you get to that point where you're really fed up, where you say, you know what, man, there's so many people out there doing so many other things that are just off the handle. I know everything is under surveillance. I've known this since I was younger. I said, just the regular corded telephones. I'm like, how could you tell me? They're like, oh, they don't have the right to tap your phone. Well, man, they do whatever they want. Especially when I was in the military, I was like, gold don't back the dollar. Lead and gunpowder backs the dollar. There is no law, and this is how I was so easy to understand the books by Larkin Rose, The Most Dangerous Superstition, which I thank JP Hives for letting me know about that. And the other book, The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke, which all shows you how government is a fiction. It is a psychological fiction that allows you to create another fictional character called an authority, which when you create an authority legitimizes and legalizes aggression and violence. They have a monopoly on violence, and that's how they control people. Oh, you can't be violent because they'll come with the army, but they can be violent. So it's basically, and it's hard to see that they have a monopoly on violence, man. So if it's something like that, I can't prevent that. And it's sort of like I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. That's just the way it is. And I think times that I did get in trouble in the military, sergeants and even a captain stood by my side. And I remember they asked me, they go, why do you do these things? And I was like, I don't know, sir. And they go, put him in the XO's office, hide him from the colonel, make sure everything cools down, because of stuff I would say. Because I would call cadence when we'd be running and jogging in the morning. So even though I wasn't an officer, I was out there doing my physical, because you needed your physical prowess, because that's what counted. You had to be a good shot, a shot expert with the M16. I was signed for a 50 caliber at 18. I had a machine gun. I had an M203 grenade launcher. I was a natural soldier, but I didn't want to stay in there because I'm not a natural rule follower. But really, in times, you can't follow the rules. When I talked to a lot of the Vietnam vets and I looked at the trauma that they've been through, I mean, it's kind of tough. But yeah, man, I just look at it as, I never thought I'd be this old right now. I never thought I never thought about being 40. I never thought about being 50. I don't think about being 60. I don't know if I'll make it past up to that old, but it doesn't matter, because when I look at the lives that some people go through, I say, man, I've lived enough. I've had enough experience for more than one lifetime. So there is no remorse, and that's what I think keeps me in a way, like kind of comfort. Alex Jones, I've heard, it could be plant. Some of the stuff he says is very plantish. Um, a lot of them, when I think about it, it gets to a point where it's like, hey, you know what? They could. I mean, I maybe from the get he was a plant. I never followed him a lot. I did read a Ike book here and there, but yeah, I'm not too. I would think, yeah, this part of him that's plant is. Let's be honest, any mainstream celeb is controlled. Yeah, Woody Harrelson, all of them guys. Yeah, you're not going to get platformed. You're absolutely right. It's very rare. The only way I'm happy to stay at a medium level to where I can make enough to eat, live, support myself, and that's cool. I'm happy with that. These guys that are like, aspiring for multimillionaire stuff and all of that, that's not really a big thing for me. $2 million and I could live around the poverty level and I'll be happy, because what is it? The $50,000, 2.5 million is $50,000 a year for 50 years. Now, I don't think I'm going to live for another 50 years. I could, though, because I'm at the age where, that's about the range that I can probably go into. 50 years would be me living to the max. And shit, that's a lot. If I live 20 more years, I'm like, holy smokes, I can't even believe, and I don't care, because everybody that I ever cared with has passed. My parents, my aunts, my uncles, because I'm the youngest. And I remember, I'm like, wow, yeah, yeah, yeah. We're definitely under surveillances. Yeah, all the time, man. On everything I love, there was one of those Chinese spy balloons over my crap. Holy smokes, man. Yeah, yeah. This is but yeah, Alexis, man, I appreciate the support, man. That honestly, that's what I would try. I would say, you know what, man, if they're gonna silence, then hey, you know what? I had a good run, and that's what it is, bro. Stay true to thyself above all else. Stay true to thyself. Vegan Skeptic says, oh, nice. You can even do just the streaming part on Kick with many features, but I hear there may be also sites that don't like that site. Yeah, I've heard that too, where I got to be careful. Scribe is the expert on that, so I have to ask him probably tomorrow. I'll see what's up. Alexis, man, thank you for the support, brother. He says, what if they offered you millions to be a puppet? The millions, I don't really see. It's like, I don't think I'll be living long enough to spend millions, but it just wouldn't be worth it, because it's sort of like you have to do a job for the millions, and I wouldn't want to work. I want to say, hey, you know what, this is fine. Even if I make, say, 100 grand a year, I'm happy, and I can do that with YouTube. I mean, we've seen CTs making over 2 grand a week, and that level, that's not $1 million. So even if I live for another 20 years, you're looking at, 2 million, if I'm making 100 grand a year, which, if I worked with Scribe, I would split it and it would be 50 grand a year, which is still enough for me if I do that. So yeah, the millions, it's not a big thing. The money, do you think they offer millions or blackmail you? Well, I don't see what they would blackmail me on, because there's nothing really that I've done. And I don't really see them offering me millions. Thank you for the support, Alexis. I appreciate that, man. Because when I think about it, most of the time they blackmail. They might try to set people up to blackmail them. So that is a possibility. Hopefully, people will realize that this is not the integrity of this man. He has shown, like, when you see, there are scientists. I don't know if I can find the clips, because he say they try to do that. They try to discredit you. They try to do this. The Human Origins book that I'm planning to publish in a few days, it's going to have people thinking different about me. I mean, hopefully all of you guys have gotten to know me a little bit. I told Scribe, I said, look, if I have enough, I don't even, honestly, at the moment, like I would need to have somebody fund just to get a new laptop, man, because the camera, he says he thinks it's the drivers and stuff. And I said, look, because I had a laptop camera. On my desktop, I have no camera. So, and that's upstairs. So and that's a big desktop. He keeps telling me, look, man, you gotta bring that, hook it up and make your little studio. My sister comes back and forth sometimes to help me out. Cause it's been kind of tough, I'll be honest, but hey, everybody's got to work, now that I'm feeling better and my health is feeling better. So that's the main thing. Cause I really, man, I didn't even want to be around. I mean, when you're not feeling well, it's tough. Health is the only wealth. Health is the only wealth. And I've always been a healthy guy. When I was exercising back in 2023, during that Ohio thing with all the pollution and the Canadian wildfires, man, I was walking 2 miles at night and something happened, bro. I was having, trying to breathe and, thank goodness I'm a veteran, go to the hospital, and I'm feeling a little better. It's been like 2.5 years to get better, but I'm feeling a little better. Exercise a little. I'm still healing from some other stuff because they gave me an IV. They, my arm, I'm feeling, it's just, even Scribe was like, dag, man, it just, some of the stuff I run into, I'm just like, how? Black Circle, my brother, he says, hello, MD and panel, man. OG, original. We're hanging, bro. We're definitely hanging, brother. Yeah, from 2020, man. He says, Vegan says, they better give all of us $1 million at the same time, as the truth, the price for truth is who spread the most truth. Hopefully, man. Hopefully, bro. It just, yeah, the millions, I don't, honestly, because in realism, Alexis, is that I don't, and it's kind of like, I think in a way, to hope that somebody would offer millions, I think they would just come and try to off somebody, because there's no reason, unless they look at that they could use you to influence people. And
Will they off you and then they clone you? I think they just clone you because we know that we know. Yeah.
They could do that, but see, this is the problem with all of us being the survivors in the zombie apocalypse, is that if I had an audience that was easy to influence that way, there's a possibility that they could try to go there. But the fact that we all think individually, and it's a stream that I like encourage people. I encourage people to challenge my position and other positions. I don't think they see that as a big thing that can be controlled. That they might see that as people would just leave, and then there'd be it. The following would dissipate. With somebody like Rogan, Jones, Ike, I don't see as much, but a lot of the other guys, they don't, they know that, okay, we're going to get them to influence. Like so many people, that moon thing with Rogan, because he was like, oh no, they didn't go. Now all of a sudden he's like, yeah, they definitely, Neil deGrasse is coming on, Elon's coming on. Oh, I'm like, yeah, he's been compromised. I would still probably, I don't know if I'd ever get on his panel. I mean, with the new book, maybe, but the new book is so controversial that they might say people are going to look at this guy as they just ain't going to believe what he's coming out with. The fact that so many people believe in the religion of evolution is that it's going to be more of a smaller but very conscious group of people. It could grow to a large amount. Maybe I make $1 million. Maybe I make 2 million. That's still really not a lot of money. At my age, that's enough to just basically retire on 50 grand a year, which would be good, because then I could do streams, in the day and the night, all day. I could be doing this. I could be publishing. I probably maybe would publish less and just hang. I would honestly, if I had the money, I would pay guys to be on the stream with me. So other guys it would benefit people. I would give money away. I would say, hey, you know what, for this, if we hit this thing, boom, I have these things. I'm going to, mail them out to PO boxes if people have them, because people don't want stuff. I guess they want to keep their identity, secret, and that I respect that. Vegan Skeptic says health, peace, and good, strong connections is every real wealth. You're absolutely right, bro. Absolutely right. How do we know something costs too much? If it costs our peace of mind. Our peace of mind is so important. Jamal?
Yeah. Like I do just want to mention that like I feel like that the happiest way you can be in this world is not just with money. Now I'm not delusional. I do believe that you need to have some type of money, but
Mhm, mhm.
you don't need to be making millions upon millions a year to be, like to be happy. Because like I feel like money can always just be like taken away from you if they want to, but like your connections with
Yeah,
people, it can't, right? So like
yeah.
your connection with another like survivors is something that you can't
Hmm.
imitate. So it's like if you want to have a good relationship, you need to have a really good like peace of mind.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, no, for me, 150 grand a year is a lot because 50 grand goes to taxes. If I'm making it not in a traditional job, like if you make 150 grand, say, off of view count, and that's a low amount on YouTube. People are easily making 150 grand a year. That's the lower end of YouTube. The middle part is like 1 million to 5 million, and then the top YouTubers are making over 5 million a year, easy. I checked the one of the highest YouTubes is like 80 million a year. So let's just say 10 to 80 million top, 1 to 10 million middle, and then 100 grand to 1 million or 999 is low. So you can make 800 grand a year and still be considered a low level streamer, probably 1 million, uh, subs or something. But you probably have to pay a team. So if I'm paying somebody 100, say I'm paying 3 guys 100 grand each. So now I'm only getting 500 grand a year, which is still good because after tax, that would be around 350. And even if I got three, I'm like, wow, that's great. I'm okay with that. 300 grand a year, I'm more than satisfied. 150 grand a year. So that enables me, one, to stay safe in the sense of, okay, he's big and he's known, because you guys know from the other streams, I'm more known than I am I'm more known than bigger, because like when you got channels like Butt Plug Fitness and all of these guys that are bigger channels that know me but are afraid to mention me because they know that people will come, Dirty Eddie and all of them, and they all have over 100,000. Mr. X, you have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I love him. I love the American Zombie Wisdom Radio, but I see why the other channels were so successful. Well, more when you could say whatever you wanted to, is because so many. It's a huge market for guys that have been taken by these grifters, these dating coaches. There's a huge market of very pissed off ex-customers, so I understand why it took off. But I know your heart's in wisdom, and that's what I like too, and that's what I
Hmm. Hmm.
prefer, to be honest with you. I'm not really, to me, the other stuff was just for fun kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah, yeah,
But I see why it was so successful. But I hope, just keep pushing.
yeah, yeah.
You
Well, I
only live
think,
one life. Just keep doing it.
yeah,
Don't.
the human origins thing, being that it touches on the different humans, and it would go into dispelling the myth of race, that gets pretty big in a way. And I'm okay with 20, 30, 40,000 subscribers, but having something where you're getting, Facing LMS had 40,000 subscribers, and he was getting 1,000, 1,200 people watching live on his stream. I mean, that was a strong following when he had
Yeah.
that. I thought he had way more subscribers, and he showed it. And so I'm like, with this, if it's 40,000 and it's getting, you see guys with 1 million subscribers and they go live and they got 500 people watching, and it's like, you see, like, even whatever has, I think, I don't know, 2 million or something.
Can
They
I
get a
throw
couple.
something out there?
Mhm.
Okay, no, I'm no expert, first off, but I'm wondering for like the success of this, if maybe you got to get a little controversial with people, like because remember in the past, that's how I discovered you for the Smash TV, or what was called back then, is that you were having debates and you were getting into it pretty harsh with other guys.
Oh
That's
yeah.
how I found out about you. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
wondering if you have to do the same thing for American Zombie or
Oh,
Wisdom.
yeah, it will. It definitely, and I'm planning on that with going on. once the book is out, and that's where it'll get controversial, very controversial, because it'll get into the race, the not directly evolution, but the fact that I've studied it and know so much about it and how to debunk it and to show scientifically. That would just be like sort of like the piece on my hip, to fire from the hip, to just be like, don't bring that crap around, because you just, that's
Well,
just.
I'm wondering if you'll go on other platforms and debate
Yeah,
them.
oh, definitely. I don't want to say some of them, because you don't like to say it before time, because
Right, of course.
everybody's listening, word gets around. But yes, I will go on other platforms, and if I can make, I was told, who did I tell? I think I was on something, and I said, look, send me $2,000 right now. I'll go buy a laptop tomorrow, and I'll come on camera. And I think they got quiet. I said, now what you got to say? I said, I don't have a problem with that. I said, I don't have a problem with that. So it's really about the money. And I told Scribe, I said, look, I said, I'd like to make the money first. And he's with it 100%. Because I told him, I said, look, people are just jealous of the fact that they see two guys that have a friendship that can work together and have been doing streams for 5 years. I said, they don't even have friendships that long. And it's like, hopefully I can get on some of these bigger streams.
Yeah.
I don't like right now, I would go with the avatar, but once I start seeing it make a certain amount, then I don't have a problem with going on.
It'd be a good way to promote the book, that's for sure.
He asked me,
I would.
Scribe is basically, Mind. What's up, bro? Good to see you, brother.
Hey, what's up? I would like to jump in here because
Yeah.
I do feel like you were kind of saying, this is a part of. I don't know if you said it directly, but I feel like this is a part of the agenda. Kind of like there are certain individuals who there's like these circles that push certain ideas, and they get propped up like by the algorithm, by the system itself, and by each other. So like you were just saying, if you were going against what everyone else is saying, if you're breaking out of the echo chamber, then they don't want you in there. They're not going to let you be in the thing where there's millions of people who they have their attention and their minds. Like if you're saying the exact opposite and then calling them out on the BS that they're trying to push, like, they're not going to want you around. Like, this is an intentional thing that they're doing to the masses, so they're not going to let us talk to them.
Well, a friend of mine, she asked me, because like Scribe found out about me like Mr. X. Scribe saw me on LFA show, and I was talking to him and another guy, and then eventually I think LFA came to our show. So he goes, man, I never would have known. And I said, look at how that happened. I was only on his show for one time on a call-in thing, where I told him, I said, look, if you put up the StreamYard link, I'll hop in, but I'm not going to call. He put it up, bang. How is it that he was listening? And then Scribe goes, I listened to your channel for about a month, and then he hopped on. And then eventually he came back like 2 or 3 times, bang. He was on the panel every show for a year straight. And he was just straight friend and co-host. And then we started Wisdom Radio, which was this channel. Then after, I think a couple of months, he goes, look, you got to come back to the relationship and stuff. This is where you shine. I went back. Then stuff happened with family. I was like, look, I need a break. I was like, I'm dealing with some serious family stuff. And he did the show for a while. And then I wrote the book Nightmare on Sperm Street. And then I think he was doing Smash for a while. And I said, okay, I'll come back. We call it Smash TV. And then this channel kind of stayed floating for a while. And then I go, I'm thinking about writing American Zombie because so many people are freaking zombified. So he goes, you should change the channel name. Now, I wanted to leave it Wisdom Radio. I took his advice. Then I see that there's just too many zombies. I'm thinking, the zombies are just overwhelming. So I said, you know what? I said, I've been working on research for about 11 years now on human origins. The theory, and I don't want to say too much about it, but it's so people are going to really have to think about it. And then I have so much material there won't be time to do events like this. Like, it does deal with racism and stuff like that, because people would say, wait a minute, so you've totally debunked the out of Africa theory hypothesis. And then you show us that humans seem to have been created in this type of environment, and this is what it led to. And then all life and the fact, the whole artificiality of the environment itself. Now, we know that Scribe has different beliefs and different things. And I told him, I said, I have to keep this totally in science. So it will have a small community, but it will be extremely strong. And you're right. It's not going to be the millions of people, but if it's 10,000 people, that's fine. I mean, you got people with millions of subscribers. And if you see 10,000, like how Fresh and Fit had like 8,000 people waiting, maybe 15,000 live, at least 5,000 of that ain't real, because you can tell by the way the chat moves. And then you start to say, yeah, it's not that interactive. And
I want to add to that. Even if the people are real in regards of like being human biological people, I mean, there's still a fake. There's so much fakeness on so many levels that people are also.
Yeah.
So it's not even. That's a whole nother thing. Okay.
Yeah. It's still not genuine. I'm looking at it as, if I can make a basic paycheck to where I could keep doing this full time, that's good enough for me. It's like, it's no big thing that, the guys are like, oh, they got to make millions. I'm okay with basic paycheck because I'm doing what I love. And they say, when you do what you love, if you get paid for it, you never work another day in your life. And I know that I'm adding something to people's life, to humanity, that it betters it after I'm not here, because I'm on my way. I don't know when. I mean, I could go to the gas station to get gas and end up getting off. Who knows? But I'm living my life. I'm being happy. I'm rowing my boat merrily down the stream. And yeah, like Vegan says, until the zombies stop their Truman Actor Show jobs and ready to retire, we got to stick together as the zombie apocalypse survivors. Absolutely, man. We are already in afterlife amongst the real Walking Dead. Yeah, that's well said, man. Well said. Unless the mind, even we are the 99% and they are the 1%, think they should be reversed, and that in reality, people like us, minority, like a bigger Truman Show movie. I think that's where we live. Yeah, we're more like, it's like not just one person awake, we're a few people that are awake. This is why most followed the pandemic for years, and they acted like the hive mind. Absolutely. When people showed who they were when that thing happened, they showed who they were. And
Wait, I want to jump in here real quick. And I want to say the hive mind. That's what I was talking about earlier. Like, there's a difference from this mob mentality, this hive mind, this collective consciousness thing, as opposed to this other thing where it's like we are all connected. There is a universal consciousness. Everything is aware, and we can tap into that and be connected to each other. But that's not the same thing as this hive mind thing that's going on here. Like, if anything, they get the truth and twist it, and again, like, they emulate what is real, and in reality they're fake. It's all fake.
Well, that's the beauty of what I'm going to step into, is that we could have conversations here about the nature of existence once I publish everything, about, okay, now we know that humans, the biology is showing us this, the evidence I'm presenting, and now we know we're going to leave this physical existence. We don't know where we're going. We can speculate on that, and that makes for great conversation. It makes for all of us being able to add in and say, okay, could it be this? Could it be this? Now, the amazing thing about death and moving forward into the next, or the whatever somebody wants to call it, we're going somewhere. We don't know where it is. And the most oddest thing about it is any type of speculation about that can never be confirmed. They try to get us to think about the materialistic part of life, but life is much more than materialism. We already know that evolution is an extremely unscientific theory. It's basically a religion, and it's for people that are so afraid of spirituality or the next thing being real. And also, like I showed with the label of the book Origin of Species, which is basically the Bible for evolution and the descent of man, is that it's all based on racism. It's based on keeping us apart. It's based on saying these people are less than these people, and this is why you shouldn't have to worry about doing atrocities to people, because there is nothing after this. Now, that's a very materialistic look. But surprisingly, there's a lot of people that feel that way. There's a lot of people that they're so zombified. They're just happy getting their daily drugs and until they pass into whatever. And they're thinking, oh, well, after this, there's nothing. But, that just doesn't add up scientifically. It just doesn't make sense. Like when Azroon and a couple other guys we talk, there's theories from India and other places where it really scientifically is pointing toward the physical universe being created after. See, they try to get us in a mindset where I can understand people thinking it, but they try to get us into thinking that the material universe came first. And they create this fantasy, the Big Bang and all of that. So time, space, and matter can't exist without one another. Because if you have space and matter, what time is it? Like when is this happening? If you have time and space, well, what is in the space? You need matter. And if you have time and matter, well, you need space for that to be in. So how do you solve that? They say, oh, well, the Big Bang and something. So where did it come from? So as we start to analyze it, we start to say, more importantly, that somebody lying to us, to know that somebody has been lying to us, the more important thing is to say, why are they lying to us? And they're lying to us because there's something that we have that's very valuable. There's a power, there's something extremely valuable in us knowing even part of the truth. And they're like, no, you can't know none of the truth. We got to keep you totally unknowing to where we can control you. And
I want to jump in here. I was thinking today, I was wanting to write a song, and a part of the song, the beginning of it said, imagine if you could do anything, and the only thing that was holding you back was I forgot what it was your own beliefs, was your own thoughts, something along those lines. And I feel like that's what's really going on. Like in reality, we could do whatever we want. We could do anything we put our minds to, but we get brainwashed to believe that we need this, we need that, we need some other thing. In reality, we just need a focus.
Yeah. Focus becomes our reality, man. That's just the truth. The more we focus on, the more the mind has so much things it can do. That's what they fear. Part of what we think of becomes reality. And our feelings, our emotions our thoughts lead to a feeling, and the feeling leads to an action, and action that leads to what happens to us. So we need to control our thoughts and understand our feelings, be careful of our actions, and then what comes after that, the result of our actions. Because a man is basically his actions. It's not what he says, it's what he does. So that's where they have us in a state of mind where it's like, oh, you see these people, they're all talk, all lies. And then you start to say, wait a minute, this person is a total fraud. How many of them do we see? I mean, especially with the influencers. Look at Tate and these guys. In my opinion, so to stay within the guidelines of YouTube, that this guy, look at all this. He even said he scammed people on video. And Myron Gaines, Roller, all of these guys, big one, Logan Paul, and Mike Tyson. Does anybody think that's a real fight that they had?
Yeah.
And even if,
No.
Yeah, they want to keep us in a state of junior high school mentality.
Yes.
And say, oh, so and so is fighting so and so. I would like the group. We'd be like, you know what? Who cares? I don't
I
care
don't
who's
care.
bullying each other after high school. I'm talking about where we're going. We're having great conversations, saying, okay, we're headed there. We will never know what it is until we go there.
Can I comment on that, MD?
Yeah, please.
Because you had said time, space, and matter must all exist at the same time. Now, I'm not here to push religion and Christianity or anything like that. And I'll give the reason why I bring it up. But in the beginning, in the book of Genesis, it said, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In the beginning, time, the heavens, space, the earth, the matter. So all I'm saying is, for research and reference, I would never discount the Bible as having some type of information there that can be used, that can be looked at, because there is some value in there. It's not in some of the passages you can that it's such an extensive book that you can find different things that can relate to other things within reality. It's not to push religion or Christianity, but it just shouldn't be discounted as invalid for anything. You know what I'm saying? That it's actually got a lot of valid points in there.
No, you're absolutely right. I agree that I say that every religion, every documented, every Sumerian tablet is a piece of the puzzle. So we know that there's going to be some things in the Bible that definitely man altered and wrote, like Romans, obey the government, obey, your earthly masters. We know all of that is bull crap.
Right.
With the creation stories, with the garden, with certain things in there, these are all pieces of like these are legitimate pieces of the puzzle for reality to say, okay, why? And then when we use that together with other pieces, we say, why is this saying this here? Like the Quran speaks about the jinn. That's a piece of the puzzle.
Sure.
The fact that we have that. So these pieces, if we take that piece of the puzzle, we take the piece of the puzzle or the pieces from the Bible, we take pieces from the Torah, and then we take pieces from the books that they don't contain. The book of Enoch, the book of Giants, the other ones, the 66 books of the Bible, they say, and then the ones beyond. We start to interpret the different stories, the older story of the Noah flood with Utapishtim and stuff like that, to say, oh, okay, so this one here is talking about a different type of garden. The Egyptians are talking about the potter's wheel of Canaan. So again, potter's wheel with the clay, with fashioning the body from materials, but then using a spirit body somehow to go into that. So it's showing that so if it's fascinating, if it's creating a physical body for the spirit to go into, the spirit already exists.
Right, exactly.
You see, so these little pieces of the puzzle, this is what I think is going to be the beautiful thing for the newer streams. And the whole thing was, I was talking to Scribe about, is that I think American Zombie, the name, is a little limiting for me getting on other platforms and stuff. American, it just doesn't fit. It's like Wisdom Radio fits a little better, but I told them maybe we can get a better name. I said,
what about something with the truth? Something with the truth, maybe something not so controversial, or
yeah, I mean, even truth, the word truth, maybe a different metaphor for the word. Like, I would love to have one word, two at the most, and that's why Wisdom Radio, American Zombie, they're better than a 3 or 4 word title. So it would be 2 or 1, and it would have to be something explanative and have the right ring to it. Like,
yeah,
so,
that's what I was saying. The right ring, like some, not necessarily like non-offensive. No. I'm saying maybe something even a little bit arrogant, so that it'll bring. Hey, let's bring this guy on. We want to chat. That benefits you. You know what I mean? You can get on some good platforms that way.
Exactly. And I can go on as Maxed Out. I tell him, I say, look, Maxed Out is the Clark Kent to the Superman of the person that does the research, which is Sidney Prince. And it's to say, look, if they want me to show them my passport, here's my driver's license. This is who I am. And to say, okay, I don't have a problem with coming on camera. Scribe goes, look, if I were to get you on Piers Morgan and he flew you, I said, I'd fly to London. I said, I haven't been there since I was a kid. I said, but I don't have a problem with going on the panel. He said, okay, cool. I said, most likely they might want, person on video, which I've seen people like that. That makes it even easier for me. I said, he goes, so you're okay with it? He's okay with that. I had to tell him, don't come on camera. I said, look, we wait until we're ready, and then we do that. I said, we don't owe anybody, these guys that are harassing and all of that. I said, no. I said, now,
very closeted behavior.
Yeah, very, very. Yeah. If women were telling me, I'd be like, yeah, sure. I'd be like, look, you know what? We can do this privately. Let's go on StreamYard, whatever. Right now, I have to get the device because he was telling me he thinks it's the drivers that I never updated and stuff. So I'm like, all right, I just have to get something newer. And it's been a while. So with all the new computers, it's changed so much. Like I heard they're not even like they're limiting hard drive now because they want people to put stuff on the cloud so they can alter stuff. And one guy had a theory. He was saying they might even be starting to alter live streams, while they're running with AI, like you're looking in the next 5 years or something. So so I'm like, okay, I said, so this has to happen. And that's why I'm pushing so hard for these next couple of days to get this ready to say, okay, the book won't be long. It'll be about 40 to 50 pages, maybe. And it's the reason being is because I want people to be able to study it intensely, easily, read the whole thing and be able to reread it and then go over stuff. And then the stuff that's in there can branch off into long streams to say, okay, so this is where the science is leading. This is where, so when somebody comes in and say, well, evolution says this, I said, look, I'm dealing with biology and reaction. So this is exactly what it is. So how do you explain this? So you cannot explain this in evolutionary terms. So this is the biological fact. And if we go from this and we extrapolate upon that, we hit these areas. And it's explaining the different types of humans that we're seeing. And now I don't want to hearing something outside. Yeah, these guys always doing something, but it's like 1:10 in the morning, but so it goes in the direction of I want to let the third part be when we start bringing in the religious, start saying, okay, this part here, we can use this piece of the puzzle from the Bible. And then is there any like more fuller scriptures that this came from? So like we see in the New American Christian Bible, it says, and God created man in his image. But in the King James Version and the Gideons and the NIV, I think it says, and I don't know if the NIV, but definitely King James and the Gideons says, let us create him in our image. So now you have the plural. Right. So New American Christian, they squeeze that into no. People asking too many questions, just put, and God created man in his image. So I noticed that difference. And I said, okay, that, we show people like, look, right here, this is how they lessen the knowledge. So now you think it's just God and man. In this one here, you see that it's a faction of a group that created, let us create him in our image. And it's not just.
I want to add something to that too. And specifically, it says male and female, we will create them.
So that's.
I think it only created man. Then he said Adam was alone, so he took one of his ribs out.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's when. Okay, but that's if you're gonna dogmatically believe every line in the book, which I don't.
Well, no, and that's the thing. See, this is where Mr. X and I are saying we would need the other.
I'm just quoting what the book said.
Yeah. We would have to have at least the documentation from either older books. Now, one thing that points toward the pre-Adamites, there's some guys that I was talking with years, like 20 years ago, very religious, and they were very religious Christians and Catholics, and they were saying, look, there's text about pre-Adamites. So one thing where you just use logic and common sense was with the Cain and Abel, when Cain leaves the garden and gets married, and there's other people. So just thinking, saying, wait a minute, there's other people. Who did Cain marry? Who was he worried about? That the so-called deity had to mark him so the other people wouldn't do anything to him for killing his brother. So it's clearly implying that
True.
there's other people out there, right? So now, and these people are outside of the garden now. So maybe they were previous creations. Then there's myths from Acadia. So there's a people called the Proselenes, I think, and it means the people before the moon. So there are myths and legends about people that were here before the moon. So now you start to say, wow, now when the moon was, I guess, created or was into existence, they would call the people, because it was called the lunar. Like I think in Spanish, it's luna, right? So the people that worship the moon were known as lunatics. So it wasn't always like a lunatic wasn't meant like a crazy person. All it meant was worshipers of the moon, basically. And it got to where, yeah. Mm-hmm. Your mic is breaking up a little when you came on. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, some guys have Sons of God. Yeah, it does sound a little bit like the MAGA thing, but thanks, man. Suggestions: Survivor Signal, Zombie Spectrum, Zombie Lens, Dead Mind, Mass Dead Mind, Mass Delusion, Mind Unplugged, Truth Fracture, Awareness Get, Last Thinkers, Mental Deep Doubt, Reality Autopsy. I'm thinking something that can encompass human origins and mysteries. So like, so because like Vegan Skeptic, you know what we've been talking about. So something, if you got some other suggestions that would be a one or two name that suggest the book with the human origins and I guess trying like how we're putting the pieces together from these different books, like saying, okay, the Quran speaks about the jinn, about beings made from a smokeless fire. So what's smokeless fire? Smokeless fire could be something made like when you forge metal, that's a smokeless fire. So are these mechanical beings? Are these beings from a type
I
of
was thinking
fire?
plasma.
A plasma, that could be it too. So this is where the speculation, we start to say, what is this? In the beginning of some Qurans, it talks about Allah is the ruler of all the worlds, the jinn. And I remember asking this Pakistan guy, he was Muslim. I said, so in other words, I said, it says right here, there's other worlds. He goes, yeah. He goes, yeah. He was open about it. I said, so they're saying other worlds. It's not just this world. And then they're saying a ruler over the jinn, mankind, the animals, and this and that. And it said, and he took the Quran back because he saw I wasn't trying to convert. So I didn't get to read too much more after that. But, I looked through it and skimmed through it. And it was a one that you had to read from the opposite direction. So it was like, what was it? Left, right to left, kind of. It opened in the opposite direction that we read. So I did see things. And, I haven't been able to find, because there are different versions. They try to say, oh, there's only one version. That's not true. There is different versions. And, but that's a piece of the puzzle. Then the different Bibles, then the Torah with the Elohai and Elohim. So you got a plural and a singular name for deities right there in the Torah. And these things would be put together for the third book, which the reason I'm making these books short, 40, 50 pages, is so I can get the 3 out by the beginning, this year for the first, maybe beginning of January for the second, and then going into the third very soon after, which builds the following to where we have a group where it's actually, possibly 1,000, 2,000 people watching live, where it actually becomes something that it doesn't have to be big because it's quality. It's not focusing on quantity. It's focusing on people that actually think, survivors basically, in the zombie apocalypse. But it's hard to like Mr. X was saying, to get on these bigger channels. They're like American Zombie, who, the name just doesn't fit.
Yeah, I agree.
And Wisdom Radio Scribe did say it's kind of dated. I said, you're absolutely right. I said, I like it, but you're right. What I like is irrelevant. What is universal is really matters. So we know that the subject is dealing with human
What's
or
up with education, like in the title?
well, you know, education, I would like that, but it seems to scare people away. You and I already know. It's like,
Educating the masses. I don't know something.
yeah, it's like trying to feed them castor oil, you know? It's good for
You're
them.
right.
Yeah, but they ain't trying to take it. So it's like something we might even have to have a little twist put in there, like
Maybe something with an anagram. There we go.
yeah, you know, that would be good. That would actually, because it would be, yeah, it would actually have different double meaning or something.
Yeah, that might work.
It-
What the elites are using.
yeah,
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 very good idea.
yeah, yeah. That I could definitely see. Um, I would have to really
Max,
think
can I
about
can I
it.
ask Mr. X a question?
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to go back to the Bible thing real quick. You were saying you were just quoting what the Bible said, right? I mean, I thought about I don't just quote and like just blindly, you know, believe. I mean, okay, I'm not trying to say anything bad. I'm just saying like I actually thought about this a lot, and I was like, why would God make uh Adam alone? Like, if he made all the animals with male and a female animal, why was Adam different? Why didn't he make a partner for Adam?
Well, he
Like, did
did.
God just
He said
okay?
it was
But
wrong. He said it was wrong for him to be alone, so he took his rib out and made the woman. That's what the
oh,
story said.
oh, I know that, but I'm saying when it comes to all the animals, the way he made everything else, he made everything with a pair. It was a yin and a yang. With night, there's day. With the light, there's dark. There's like with all the animals had a pair. They that multiplied. He didn't take a
Sure.
rib
Can
out
I
of
take a
every
guess?
male
Can I take a guess? Because
animal.
I can't tell you the definitive answer, but maybe he had to show that Adam was above Eve, or he was the leader over Eve. That was the natural position. They couldn't be
Okay,
equal. They
so
couldn't
if we're gonna
be
go with the Bible, that was actually a part of the curse. That was why Adam was put over Eve, because Eve. It was a part of the curse that when they got kicked out of the garden,
Yeah,
he was
that's
placed
true.
over. But that wasn't that was never implied or anything. That was actually said right there
No, I'm not saying it
in
was
that part.
implied. I'm just coming up with my own belief. If you ask me for an answer, I could throw something out there. You know what I mean? I'm not saying the Bible implied that. I'm just saying maybe it had to show that Adam was going to be the head over Eve. He was going to be the leader.
So you
Maybe.
don't think maybe the Bible was the Bible that we read is mistranslated, or it's not the full thing, and God did actually make a know that Adam was going to be alone before he made him, so he made them together at the same time, like he did
Yeah,
everything else.
yeah, he didn't want to make it at the same time. Maybe that's why he made him from the rib. I'm just speculating on why he would take his rib out rather than
I
creating
know,
both.
but you're only sticking to one narrative. I'm saying, is it possible for there to be more than just the narrative that you were fed your whole life?
Yeah, it's possible, but
But
I
you're
mean,
not going to think about it.
anybody can say
But you
anything.
but you don't think about it.
It's for right now. I don't think it's relevant as far as I just agree with the idea of creation happening in that sort of fashion. I don't believe we evolved over millions of years. I believe humankind came into its existence in just instantaneously because
I mean,
that's what the
for me,
science points
because
to.
yeah, I mean, I agree with that. But I'm talking about Adam and Eve here. For me, I feel like because I don't know, I am willing to put both of those ideas on the same plane of possibility when it's like, okay, that could have happened where the God literally did the bone from Adam's rib, and that's the actual story. Or, there could be more to this story, and this is not the full thing. Like that's where I kind of come at when it comes to certain things that I believe in. Like, I don't actually just fully say uh, this is what I think, and I'm not gonna think about any other way except for this thing that I was told
Yeah, I mean,
to believe.
it's fine. Anybody can come up with a theory about another story, but then you have to have some proof behind it rather than just an opinion. Otherwise, everyone has an
For the
opinion.
proof, well, I gave you proof. God made everything in pairs. Why would he decide to make this one thing different? There's proof right there. God works when he does something. He does it in a whole like kind of way. He doesn't be like, oh, I forgot about that. I'll do it later.
I don't think
That's kind
God
of like,
does that. I don't think that's the
okay,
way.
well, that's kind of what he. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Obviously, there's a purpose behind it, and just because we may not know what the exact purpose is, doesn't mean that it didn't happen that way.
Okay,
That's a
so
mistake. A lot of a lot of other groups have made. They like, especially with atheism, it's just like they can't grasp the concept of a God. Like they have to know everything about how he would think and why he would do everything. And if they don't know that, then forget it. He can't exist. It's like, no, that's not logically rational. The creator of everything
yeah, I
is
know God's
that
more
we can't
encompassing,
understand
like
everything.
infinite. We can't. Yeah, Max, were you gonna say something? Sorry.
no, yeah. I was gonna say I understand what you're saying, and yeah, I hear what Mr. X is saying. But what you're saying is, it's not proof, but what you're saying is a logical deduction. So you have a very good point in saying that everything is created in pairs. Why wouldn't man and woman be created that way? So that's an extremely you're bringing up a very good point. Now, I think what would be needed to look at is like the Hinduism part, like what Azraroon brings in. Everything has a pair. Like God has a wife. Uh, the god of death, Shiva, has a wife. The god of preservation, Vishnu, has a wife. So there isn't just a God created, gods have a wife. So with and this is I've said this before, like how you're saying, why would Adam be created without a pair? It goes even further, your logic here, that why would it be a singular God then? Why wouldn't God have a mate? And then when we look into other myths, we start to see like, oh wow, there are a pantheon of gods. When we look at the Greek pantheon, the Roman pantheon, the Hindu pantheon, even in some Oriental myths. So I think it's only the monotheistic part, like Egyptians had a whole pantheon. They had the underworld, the all type of stuff. They had different not even human type stuff. You see the different heads on all of these humanoid types of characters and stuff like that. So you make a very good point, and that's what's going to be, I think, in the new streams where we put that into there, because your logic makes a lot of sense. Mr. X brings in a good part of it because he's saying, look, we still have to take into account this right here about this being created from this other being. Now, some people say the rib is short for ribosome. So ribosome could be like, maybe rib is a short to say, okay, it wasn't technically a rib, but when you look at the rib actually has a rich source of DNA for cloning. So now we get deeper scientifically into this to say, okay, now Metal Child says apparently King James variant of the Bible is the most accurate English, but it was translated directly from the original text into English, whereas other variants are almost always the product of multiple. But now, again, the King James, it's a version, and it's created by a king who, of course, keeps people under his control. So the King James version might not be the most accurate because it's coming from, I think, German. So German, I think around 1300, they're saying it was translated, and I think it was translated from into German from either Greek or Latin. So now you have a Latin to Greek or Greek to Latin, which I think it might be Latin to Greek. I'm not sure which way. And then as you go further back, you start to get different languages that it might have been in. So when you go back to what it was translated from, so if we say, okay, what's the oldest thing the Bible was translated from? It seems to have been from Sumerian tablets, like the clay tablets. So now we're saying, okay, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, very close. It has the flood. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I wanted to say a thing before I forget. It was about the whole rib
Yeah.
subject.
Can I just mention, MD? I didn't know that about the rib, the cloning part. So that's what I'm saying. Let's take the Bible just as a reference. That's all
Yeah,
I'm saying. I had no clue.
exactly. Yeah, exactly, bro.
I'm
Yeah.
I know a little bit about the Bible, and I first of all, what's monotheistic mean?
Single God.
Okay,
Polytheistic would be multiple gods. So if it's just God, that's monotheistic, like one deity. So saying only God and then everything else is below that, that's monotheistic. Polytheistic is saying many gods. So
is
Zeus,
Christianity a mono?
huh?
Is
Huh?
Christianity monotheistic?
Yeah, yeah. Christianity, Catholicism, Muslim is monotheistic.
But they believe
Hinduism,
in
Because
one God, three
I
persons,
thought
though.
technically Christians believe in the Trinity.
Yeah,
the
the Trinity:
Trinity.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's still the Father. It has one God at the top. So when we
Yeah.
look at the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, it's very contradictory because again, when like how you were using logic, which makes a very good point to say, wait a minute, everything is created in pairs. It doesn't make sense. So that has to be taken into account. You see, otherwise it's just somebody believing what the book is saying,
I
which
mean, this is why I wanted to talk about the Trinity, because it
Mhm.
does make sense, and there is references to the Holy Spirit having female attributes, and I can tell you where they're at in the Bible specifically.
Sure, let me know. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so one of them that I can think of right off the back, the Holy Spirit. Well, first of all, when you think of the Holy Trinity, first of all, it's the Father and the Son, right? And in my brain, I
Mhm.
was always like, okay, there's a Father, there's a Son. Where's the mother? Why
Yes.
is there no mother? And then
Bang.
I thought, well, where are all? Is there even girl angels? Like, I never even heard of a girl angel.
Wow, that's a great, great question, bro.
And
See,
then I
this
was like, oh yeah, I forgot. Throughout history, women have been oppressed, right? So of course,
yeah,
if there was some
but there
female divine entity, they're not going to talk about it in history, right? Because
exactly.
there's a oppression of women.
Exactly. And there's a great book that talks about that called, it was written by a doctor. It's called The Alphabet versus the Goddess. And it talked about when the Bible was translated, I think in the 11th or 12th century, that sparked immense wars. People would use the book to say, well, God said this. And then it went into like, being able to turn people against each other. So it was the alphabet versus the goddess. Before that, before they started doing that, the goddess, like many cultures talked about the goddess, that how can something be birthed from a man? It has to have
Exactly,
a meaning.
exactly. And this is where I'm going again. Okay, so the Holy Trinity. When
Mhm.
you are okay, let me start this over. Do you know how you must be born of the Spirit, right? Have you heard that?
Yeah, and I think that's what means that the spirit might come before the matter. It's possible. I'm just saying, because in Hinduism, their Trimurti, which is way older than Christianity, they call it the Trimurti. So if Azarun is here, he could clarify. But as far as I know from reading and studying Hinduism and Sanskrit, that now you don't have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. You have a trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the creator, the preserver, which is Vishnu, and the destroyer. And that's what we see in life. We see creation, preservation, and destruction. Creation, preservation, destruction. We see this when plants die. We see plants grow, preservation, it dies, destruction, and then it regrows, creation. Now, each of those gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, all have wives. And Vishnu, Azarun knew the names. Now you go into other gods. I think I don't know if it's Sasvati or something like that. She's the goddess of wisdom. Then you have the goddess of water. You have this. You have the one of the sky. And who's similar to that? The Greeks and the Romans. Poseidon was the god of the sea. They had Apollo was the sun god. Mars was the god of war. You see, so all of these religions, now these are polytheistic religions, meaning many deities, now you're seeing like, okay, we can find pieces of the puzzle to give us a broader picture of reality now, to say, okay, this is where this is where the learning is. Metal Child says, MD, the greatest story ever told, or the greatest story ever sold. Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. And I look forward to the other ones you have, Vegan Skeptic. I appreciate that, man. This is where the real learning happens, because we're all leaving any of our opinions behind, and we're actually saying, could it be? And the Trinity, the thing that I have, the skepticism I have on the Trinity with the Catholic and Christianity is, like you said, it's very male orientated. And where did it come from? When it says, let us create him in our image, the excuse that religious people use is, oh, that's the Trinity. But the Trinity didn't exist at that point in the beginning of the Genesis book. So they don't want to think. They want to say, oh, no, well, it's just this. We want to think. We want to know, wait a second, why does it say, let us create him in our image? And it doesn't just say it once. It says it in the garden too. Let us.
I'm open to the possibility.
Yeah,
that it could have been there in the beginning. I'm not sure.
It could have, but remember, we don't want to fall back into a belief system. We want to say, okay, this is possible, but the more evidence we find toward it in other texts, the more possible it becomes to be a fact or more reality, because we don't have factual evidence on this. The only factual evidence we have is when I present the genetic evidence to say, okay, it seems from what I'm doing research on that humans were created, that the physical body is fashioned. So like Mr. X is saying, okay, it came in at once, but I'm thinking, well, how did it come in at once? It seems that like how Khnum's potter wheel, they're fashioning it, they're making it on the potter's wheel. So it's not like a magician touching a hat and pulling the rabbit out. It's saying, no,
I think that's what it is. No, I think that's exactly what it is in reality. And then there's the fake ones. Again, like I said, there's this duality happening. I do believe there's two here, whatever is going on, and there is a natural and there is the unnatural. And I think things can just spawn like a rabbit out of a hat into existence, and that is the miracle of reality.
Mr. X? Yeah.
No, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, because I mean, mine beat me to it, but it's a supernatural beginning.
Okay,
So
now
we can't apply science or naturalistic explanations to its existence. It had to be something supernatural. Even if you believe in evolution in the beginning of that's supernatural. I mean,
well, again, remember, you notice how something is always trying to keep us in that frame of thought. Like it's got to be bang, it happened. The big bang, the rabbit out the hat. Do we see this in nature? No,
absolutely not.
So now we start to
say abiogenesis.
Abiogenesis is not real. It's false.
I'm sorry. I meant to say asexual reproduction. That's a thing.
Oh, that is
all right. Give me an example.
Which
goldfish,
go
right?
ahead.
You have a whole bunch of male goldfish, right? One turns female. That's asexual.
No, it's a female. No, it's a female goldfish can just have birth, just have babies randomly.
No,
she gets pregnant by herself.
All right,
that's real. That can happen with lizards.
All right, now that's not just going poof. That's showing that embryo is being developed. It's growing. And now it maybe goes into stages. Maybe it goes from a larva stage to a pupa stage to, the adult. If it's not an insect like that, then it goes from an embryo. So now you have the fetus, the embryo growing into the fetus, which gets born into the actual thing that lives in the physical world. So again, it's not just like a ta-da type of thing. Now I understand that the original thing could be something like that.
That's what I'm talking about. The original.
Yeah, but
it is tying into the whole Adam and Eve narrative, because I believe that man came from woman, not the other way around. Because in nature, at least scientifically speaking, like I said, asexual reproduction only happens from the female. It's never been shown to happen by the male. Even when we talk about Jesus's birth and the virgin birth, people are like, that's impossible. It can't happen. Why? It happens all the time in nature. Why
But
would it
keep
be
in
so
mind,
impossible for?
you're trying to explain it, but through naturalistic explanations, and
I'm
that.
just saying what is real. I'm just saying
No,
what
no,
actually happens and why
wait.
I draw the conclusions
But the
that I
supernatural is
have.
No,
real.
no, we have to look
But
into here. Let me look it up because I think the seahorse, the male gives birth. Let me
no,
see.
no, no. The seahorse doesn't give birth. It literally is only the eggs are put into a pouch in the seahorse, so
Oh,
he's not giving birth.
Moto dragons, they do it. I just
Okay,
looked
it
at.
says here, yes, male seahorses and their relatives, sea dragons, are the only known animals where the male gets pregnant and gives birth,
Wow.
carrying the eggs in a special brood. So this shows you
Yeah,
that
but
it,
no,
it
but
can
it's
happen
carrying the
both
eggs
ways.
though. It's carrying the eggs because the woman put the eggs in the pouch. It didn't produce the eggs itself.
Do you have any links to that? Because see, this is why I do so much research, because I want it to be like from what I'm seeing, and it's not what I want to be. It can't be that, but it has to be the science of saying, okay, now the female, now she does transfer the it says the
Yeah, that's what I
ovipositor
said.
to transfer
Yeah.
the eggs into the male's brood pouch as detailed in this IFL science article. But now, what about bacteria that split? So now that's not male nor female. It's like a cloning of itself. So we have life that actually will split and clone itself. You have flatworms that if you chop it up, each one will form another section of the original one. Hookworms in the ocean, if you split them or break them, it will actually create another head from the other one. So it's showing us that there are life forms that can be formed in this way. See, remember, we've all been conditioned to think it's either all or nothing. It's black or white. It's this or that. But nature is showing us something different. And then we got to remember there are things out there that we still haven't even imagined. So we got to be very careful on being stuck in a belief or pulled back into that. And that's the only way for us to go forward and say, you know what? This is an extremely beautiful, wonderful mystery that we're seeing so many different things that we cannot explain. And in science, what I noticed is that when we search for truth, we actually start to find more questions. So there's not a problem with getting the answers, even if we don't get it. What we don't want to run out of is questions, because that's when it shows
Okay,
that
I
we're
got one
not.
question.
Mhm.
I got a question. Okay, what makes you assume that those animals, like the germs that are able to, reproduce without a male, is not
Mhm.
a female germ? Like, what makes you think that there's no gender to the germ?
Okay. It's not that I'm thinking there's no gender. I'd like to know why you think there is a gender to it.
Well, I would say there are certain attributes that the germ shares with a certain gender, like production, that I
Well,
would say
it's
would
not
make me
production.
assume it would be in that same category.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, like I said, the asexual reproduction thing only
No, no, no.
happens
We're
through.
talking about germs. We're talking about bacteria and
Okay,
stuff
yeah,
like
the germs split. You just said it. The germs split.
that. No,
They
but what I'm saying
produce
is,
by
okay,
splitting.
well, all right, how does that attribute to a female or a male? Why can't it be neither?
Okay, because like I said, when we look at organisms, the only one that is able to reproduce without a male in the biological sense, which we would call asexual reproduction, comes from females.
No, no,
Now
we don't
that
see that. We don't see that. We see with the hookworm, we don't see male or female.
okay, and again, I said there's certain characteristics that females have, like being able to reproduce, right? Males
Wait,
throughout.
wait, wait. I want to give you the definition. Sexual reproduction is the process of creating new organisms by combining the genetic material. So it's saying asexual. Okay, let me get asexual because it's giving me a different one. It's the biological process where a single parent creates genetically identical offspring, clones, without the fusion of gametes, sperm and egg. So there's no fusion of sperm and egg, allowing for rapid population growth, common in
Like
bacteria.
germs. Yeah, like
Now
bacteria.
all right, bacteria, fungi, plants, and some animals, though methods like budding, fission, fragmentation, or parthenogenesis. One parent, only
Yes.
one individual is necessary to produce new organisms. So it's not saying that that organism is male or female. It's like certain plants won't have
Okay.
seeds. It'll have like a clones.
Yes, the female plants are the ones that do it. I know
Well, no,
about plants and which ones are able to do that. It's the female.
female plants, they have plants that can seed themselves. Okay, that's one type.
Yes, that's the
Now,
asexual reproduction.
all right, now they have other ones that reproduce without that in a different way. So it's not that it's a female plant, it's that it's a type of life form that reproduces through cloning. So they do have the
Well, yeah. If you're talking about like, yeah, the plant is able to fall on the ground and reroot itself. Yeah, that's a thing that all plants can do. Like a
no,
male
no,
plant or a
not
female
all.
plant can reroot itself.
You see, so this is the thing. Remember, we don't want to fall into just one
What?
type. But I do want to address Vegan Skeptic. He said new suggestions. I like hidden origins in this. He says original signal, first intelligence, human enigma. That's actually okay. Unknown origin is good. Evo Lucian, that's a good one. Hidden origins, man. That one's got a ring. Human code, sacred data, or even secret data. Uh, myth decoded, lost storage, ancient signal, hidden origins. I like that.
Yeah, I
Origins.
like hidden origins.
Yeah, that one has a ring to it because hidden origins, that one's top. If you got any ones that are close to that, the hidden origins one, we can look at those too. But so okay, it has here 7 types of asexual reproduction. So how you're saying it's one type, right now they're saying 7, and we know there's probably more.
Whoa,
This is
whoa, whoa! Hey, I never said it was one type. I said one
oh, okay.
organism,
Oh,
which
okay.
is a female, is able to do it.
Okay. Now we're gonna look. All right, definitely. You're right. Uh, binary fission, budding, fragmentation, vegetative propagation, spore formation, parthenogenesis, and regenerative gemulation. So now we're looking at different types that can be created, that can be cloned, so it's not just, and these are just the 7 main types. So binary fission, a single celled organism splits into 2 identical daughter cells, like you're saying, female, bacterial.
Daughter, yeah.
Yeah. Then there's budding. A new organism grows from an outgrowth or bud on the parent, eventually detaching, like yeast or the hydra. Fragmentation. The body breaks into pieces. Each piece develops into a new individual. Starfish, planaria. So now that's actually showing that, okay, that doesn't have to be female. Vegetative
Well,
propagation.
wait. Do we know because there are some animals that have both genders or only have one gender? Do we know what
Well,
the
there are
status of?
hermaphrodites. There are hermaphrodites. So now that's both genders. So it's not just one, it's a double gender. It's a hermaphrodite. And we see this
Yeah,
in,
that's what I was just gonna say.
so actually, and that's a good point now that, so see, now we're growing. We're starting to say, okay, we're using the scientific method. So, all right, let me give an example. You have a male and a female marijuana plant, the cannabis plant. I don't know if you know a lot about that. Guys are breeding them here in New York. It's legal, right? So you have a male plant that's fully male that produces pollen, and that pollen is put on the bud through wind or touching it, and the stigma on the bud will fertilize the pouch that forms a seed. So almost like the sperm and the egg, the pollen pollinates the female plant. Then you have plants that grow buds that grow their own pollen sacs called hermaphrodites. Now, these plants pollinate themselves with their own pollen. So it's not a female plant reproducing, it has a male and a female gene. So we're seeing this to be true. So this is not a theory. And that's where, we go forward. Now, I know what Mr. X is saying, sticking on a natural thing, it's kind of just sticking with nature. But this is what we got to follow to say, okay, this is the physical thing that is created for the physical body. And then, yes, there might be some type of spiritual, or how does the consciousness get in there? And that's like a third thing, actually. So that might be the Trinity. The Trinity might not be the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Trinity might be the Father, the Mother, and the Holy Spirit. The Father, the Mother, and the consciousness. You see, so
or why not? Wait, why not the Father, the Son, and the Mother? Like that's the
no,
family
not
right
the
there.
Father, Son, because it's leaving out the Spirit. We're not just matter. We're matter plus consciousness.
Right.
So to
Yeah,
create
but all of those things God is a spirit, though, and the mother is like the embodiment of the spirit.
The
Oh,
mind.
you're right. I'm guessing.
Can I just comment? Because mind, you said the mother. It most likely makes sense that the God created the mother, then she gave birth. But wait a minute, there had to first off the original human, whether male or female, had to be an adult. Couldn't be a child. They had no parent.
Wait, I never said the original mother was a female and gave birth. I just said I think men came from women. Like if there was an Adam and Eve story, I think Adam, Eve was first, and then the rib could have came from.
Now you have a good point, and I got to find this guy's research. His research, man, I don't know where I saved it, but maybe I could find it again. He's saying that he showed how the clitoris and the ovaries drop down. So you have a female body that they say the clitoris is like the female version of the penis. And this is for educational purposes, my opinion, to stay within YouTube guidelines, that I forgot the researcher's name. He's saying that the ovaries, if they drop down, become the male testes. The clitoris enlarges to become the penis. What did he say?
I have my doubts about that, because that's still implying some type of evolutionary process.
No. I think he's saying that, like, he's showing how, like, because if you look at the Adam and Eve and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. When we think of just something being poof coming into existence,
right?
I want more of an explanation for that. It goes back to the magical thing.
But it is magical. It's supernatural. I don't disagree with that at all. It is magical. At the end, there has to be a supernatural explanation. It has to be poof magic. It has to be. Unfortunately, that's where we get stuck. You know what I mean?
What if the poof is the spiritual thing, or the consciousness thing that goes into the physical? So it's saying that, and you're right. How did the physical even come into existence? So that does give the poof to say, okay, man, because it's a mystery that really needs to be thought about. And I don't think and this is where I'm saying with the new type of shows, it's not going to be able to be solved in one show. I mean, we could do streams for hours, for days on end. And that's the beautiful thing about it, because we're actually making progress. We're not sitting here saying it's evolution or it's just what this book said. We're saying, no, it has to be more. And this is where the real learning comes in, where we're looking and saying, okay, what is parthenogenesis? An egg develops into an embryo without fertilization by sperm. So now how does that happen? Some insects, bees, aphids, but they're like the hermaphrodites. There are instances of not just plants, but animals fertilizing themselves. So the fact that it has the word fertilization showing us that the male part does exist within the female part. So it's not just the female, like there are some that are just female that'll do clones, but then there's also some with the female and the male parts. So it's just broadening, like I said, the mystery, and actually bringing up more questions which is
I
good.
think it's funny. I think it's funny that we're talking about this, and you never hear these talking points from the people who try to like advocate for this kind of stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I think we're very unique. That's where I'm like, where Vegan Skeptic, I thank you so much for helping with these names. That's where I think the Hidden Origins is possibly the best name so far. You know, First Intelligence is good, but Hidden Origins, man, that might be the name for the channel, man. It might need to be that. I mean, it definitely something like that, because like you said, Mind, this is where we need to talk about, because all of these people that talk about the religion and how they don't ever want to have this type of conversation, because it breaks the control of their cult. Because we are actually thinking, we're actually saying, you know what, this this requires a lot of thought, and it requires the power of deduction. So logic, reason, and then also we know that there's going to be an unknown. It's like we're getting closer to an answer, but the closer we're getting, the answer is producing more questions.
Exactly.
That's why I think we need to use our more than our all of our senses too, because our using our brain, that's a good thing to use. But I think if there's anything in this existence that is false, the only thing in the existence that is false, I've said before, is perception itself.
Yeah, well, check this out. This is the weird thing about perception. We can never see the true face of reality, because all we're getting is our perception of reality. That's something that is so amazing, to say that no, reality has a way of hiding from us no matter how much we search for it, because we're perceiving what reality is. So that perception itself has a bias to it that we can't even see. And we notice this as we start, like when we started the conversation, we learned more stuff.
Right.
Thought
But what about, can I ask you
good.
about reality? Because maybe we're seeing it from our three-dimensional space. Like, you only see the sides of the cube, but you can't see inside the cube. Maybe we're seeing from one part of reality, but there's a much deeper reality that we can't
Yes.
see.
And even if we could see that deeper reality, there would be more of reality that we can't see.
Yes, I agree with that.
So now we get into, now we're actually using our minds and speculating and using more powers, because we're saying, hey, you know what? We can only know so much. It's like infinity. The fact that we know space is infinite, and inner space as well, going smaller and smaller and bigger, right? If space, like we know, is infinite and we can comprehend that, you can't even explore 1%. Because what is 1% of infinity? That just doesn't make sense. You see what I'm saying? It's like kind of like when they say anything times zero is zero. And you start to say, holy smokes, how is that? Between 1 and 2, if you have fractions, a half, 1.5, 1 3/4, it's infinite. You can keep breaking that down smaller and smaller. It will never end, right? That's just between 0 and 1, 1 and 2, 2 and 3. Now, what are negative numbers? So -1 is not the same. The space between 0 and -1, those fractions are not the same as the fractions between 0 and 1. So now this brings in a whole different thing. And math helps us with this, like irrational numbers, the number E, stuff like that. This is where the beauty of learning comes in, the magic. And mathematics, one, just totally discounts evolution, because that's another hard science to say, well, if you do the math, the amount of combinations it would take for this thing to form randomly goes beyond trillions of years. So it just totally disintegrates their whole theory of evolution. So that's the main thing, to break our minds. We're all free of evolution, so we don't have to worry. But we know that evolution zombies will come and try to say, oh, it's just evolution. So we know, okay, we're smart enough not to listen to that rhetoric. So because we're searching for truth. So now we start to say we have the negative factor, we have the positive factor, we have the outer space that never ends. And the fact that we cannot explore not even 1%, not even a fraction of a percent, because it's infinite.
Right.
And it goes back to the saying that the universe isn't as weird as we can imagine. It is weirder than we can imagine. So how you're saying that, yeah, it has to go back to the poof, it has to even go beyond the poof.
Sure.
So there's and this is beautiful. It's like the mind said, you never hear these conversations. They don't ever want to talk about stuff like this. And in a way, I think we've been starving for this.
I think so.
Yeah, we've been wanting to know. Timbo says the light spectrum hides much of reality. From exactly, you go into
Good
infrared. Beautiful point, man. Thank you, man. Mark says numbers themselves both don't and do exist. That's freaking deep, bro. That is deep, and it's true. That is deep. That numbers don't exist, but they do exist. That's some deep stuff, Mark. Holy smokes, man. This is the beauty of learning. See, this is the beauty, how the light spectrum and beyond, when you look at the infrared, the ultraviolet, the X-rays, Röntgen, he called it the X-rays when he accidentally discovered the X-rays, when he was looking for something with the cathode tube and noticed the reflection, I think, of the human skeleton or some type of thing. It revealed itself by accident, and he called it X-rays. To X represents the unknown, and that's how we have the modern thing where you can look through it. So it's like, holy smokes, this is amazing. Vegan skeptic, this is good. Okay, so far, and thank you, brother. He said, totally my pleasure. So far, we have the number one, yes, is human origins. Number two, ancient signal. And I'll now give you the rest of the suggestions in case something may be a better fit. Thank you, man. Yes, this is where it's at. So we know for sure when I change it, we know, okay, that's going to be the name. So when I go on other channels, it'll be like, look, this is what I'm representing this channel with these names. Yeah, thanks, man. This is great, man. This is feeding our minds so much, because they say that if you don't feed the mind will start to feed on itself, and that's how people get zombified. They just this religion told me that, and it's all I believe. And it's so sad because we see good people, beautiful people that are stuck in that. And I'm not trying to shake their faith. I'm saying, hey, you know what? This person is just holding on. Everybody's trying to hang on, man. I mean, mentally, it's a tough one being in reality. It really, in existence itself.
But the fact that we're asking these questions, MD, and the fact that we have a mind only concludes that there's a mind outside our own mind that's running things.
Yeah.
That's
And then
you can come to.
Yeah, but then that's us looking at it from a mind perspective.
I agree. I was just thinking that, because what about the heart? Like, we have a heart. Where's the heart? Is there a heart out there somewhere? That's what I was thinking.
That's
more physical, but
the heart. No, the heart actually might be more perceptive. The heart, we're taught it's the mind, but it is because the heart feels. The mind thinks, but the heart feels. And life is feeling. When you think about it, the thinking is really not much without feeling. So the heart, and they say in physical science, they say that the heart contains just as many brain cells as the brain. So, and it shouldn't even be called brain cells. It's a type of cells that it also is in the heart. And then the bacteria in the gut gives feeling. So the bacteria in the gut isn't even us.
I want to add something to what you said, Max. The heart is directly reacting to an electromagnetic field that's pumping the blood, and there is the thing that makes, because I was like, okay, how is their heart cell? How is their brain cells in the heart? I was trying to figure that out, so I did a little research, and it's because there's this electrical signals that's a part of the brain cell thing. The brain gives off these electrical signals, and the spinal cord has them. It's basically this thing that gives off like a electromagnetic field, and it's kind of, it's very similar to the brain. That's all I was gonna say.
Okay. No, that's cool, man. It's You know, and that's so this brings it into another thing. What if it's the heart? What if, like, because we're thinking the brain, right?
Right.
What if it's the heart?
Oh, I don't think the brain. I think the mind is separated from the brain. That's. I think them to say that our minds are in our brains. That's like
All right. Now we know the mind is the separate thing for the brain, right?
Yeah.
What would be the separate thing for the heart? We don't even have a name for that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now it's getting deep. Now we're getting real deep.
Yeah.
And they always say trust your gut, and there is a way where the gut. I mean, you get instinct and feeling,
Yeah.
and you know, you wonder. You say, well, what is that? So,
Energy. Some
Mhm.
type of energy, negative or positive. Some type of energy, because we run on energy, we run on electricity, just
Well,
like
I think it's the microbiome in our gut that can sense these things. So we have another life form. You know, we're more bacteria than we are human cells.
Sure.
So we have a little more. They're saying 1.1 to 1.13. So for every human cell, we got 1.1 or 1.13 of bacteria cells. So we have a little bit more of bacteria cells than we do our actual own human cells. And in every part of our body, it has a microbiome of different bacterias. So the skin has its own microbiome. The gut has its own microbiome. All of these things, even the sperm and all of the semen have their own. It's fascinating when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, holy smoke. And that's just what we know. So
Yeah,
we know that.
we're just brushing the surface. It gets even deeper than that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is really where the learning is. This is really like it's great because we're like on such a deep frontier right now that they would try to discourage us for even thinking about what we're talking about here. We already know that. So we know that this is deep into the survivors type of thing, like thinking like, hey, you know what? This is almost a type of forbidden thinking. Wow.
So
And Mhm.
I don't know if we're that deep into it yet. Once you start going self-sustainable, that's when they start saying to cut the feed.
Well, yeah, no, I don't think they'd cut the feed, but I think we'd have people where we wouldn't be able to go this far because if a zombie was here, they would keep trying to say, well, yeah, but that's not, you know, but this book says this or that,
Oh
you know,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, they would always try to mess it up. See, this is what's good about having three open minds to say, hey, you know what? We can leave our biases or whatever we've been told behind and say, look, let's go forward and just figure out, okay, what could this actually be? What we know it's not, we just we leave that behind. And then what it could be. Vegan Skeptic, thank you, bro. He said last ones, hidden foundations, foundations unknown, hidden ancestry, forgotten ancestry, hidden lineage, forgotten lineage, origins uncovered. I kind of like that one. Origins uncovered, origins revealed, prime beginnings, and primal origin. I like origins uncovered and hidden origins. So those two are the top for now. So we have those two. So origins uncovered and hidden origin. I like all of them really, but some of them are a little long. The foundations, that's kind of a long one. Hidden foundation, origins uncovered is good. Hidden origins is still up there, man. Hidden origins, just something
Yeah,
about
we
it.
need to make sure it's not taken by somebody.
Part
There might
one
be
must,
another channel with that name.
yeah, I gotta check it before. He says part one must have not came true on live chat, so I'll try to. Oh yeah, okay, I didn't see that one. Okay, yeah, this one didn't come through. Veiled beginnings, forgotten beginnings, hidden beginnings, origins unseen, or unseen origins. That one, unseen origins, or hidden origins. Something about unseen origins is cool. Origins concealed, concealed origins, shadowed origins. I like the word shadow. Shadow, origins and shadow, unseen origins. Okay, you have that there. These are pretty good. I'm gonna save all of this too. So we'll go over these and origins and shadow, shadow origins, unseen origins. Oh wow, he's got more. Buried beginnings, obscure origins, origins forgotten, origins exposed, unknown beginnings. I like that. Lost beginnings, original origins, foundational, foundations unknown, hidden foundation, origins questions. I like the fact that the word question. So something like the question. Question is pretty, boy, this is so great, man. This is so great. Thanks, man. This is, yeah, I hidden origins is still up there. Unseen origins, hidden origins just has something, or forbidden origins even. Lost beginnings. Oh wow, more. Yeah, been working on a new model with ChatGPT to select some fitting ones for you, so your channel is only presenting you the best of the best suggestions. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that, man. This is great, man. This is like, man, this is really, you know, it's getting kind of late. I don't know if you guys, I'm on the East Coast. I know Mr. X is, I don't know if you're on the same time thing.
I definitely got to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm so tired, but this was so great, man. Thank you guys, man. Dude, this was beautiful. Everybody in the chat, vegans, thank you so much.
Great show.
Yeah. I mean, this was great. Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow night, man. I'll go through some of these that Vegan Skeptic came through, and I appreciate it, man. Mark, all you other guys, Timbo, thank you. Alexis Jun, man, thank you. Metal Child, all you guys, man. Definitely, man. Take care and have a great night.
Have a good night.